My younger sister's, 21F, close friend, 22F, has been chasing me, 23M, for months. We finally hooked up tonight and she is acting off after. My sister has her friends over all the time and they are always throwing their friend parties here because we have a big backyard and her friends like our family. One of her friends, Katie, has a crush on. She's made it obvious and told my sister about it. She's had flirted with me in the past, but I stopped myself from letting it become anything. The last time before I saw her, she came to my bedroom in the middle of the night at like 2 in the morning when my sister was asleep, asking to use my bathroom. I told her there was one in the hallway, but ultimately just let her in. She tried sleeping with me that time, but I didn't do it. A couple days ago we had another party for my sister's birthday and a similar thing happened. I talked with my sister's birthday beforehand and she said she didn't care as long as I wasn't playing with her feelings and as long as it didn't cause us problems. So this last time she kept giving me that look like she wanted to be with me and I finicky approached her and talked to her. We had some drinks together, but we weren't drunk and she asked me to dance with her. When we were all going to sleep I invited her to come relax in my bedroom and she got excited and we went back to my room. We ended up having sex for a long while and we went at it non-stop. I know the sex was good because I got her off a couple times and she definitely enjoyed herself and I tried my best to make sure I satisfied her first. I had a lot of fun either way, her and she slept on top of me. The next day she was with my sister when I woke up and she seems to be shy around me now. She's acting different and not as confident as she used to. How do I fix this? I really don't know what caused her to act like this. Comments. Commenter 1. She probably feels vulnerable, insecure and wonders if you like her. You make it right by texting her that you had an amazing time and ask if she'd like to have coffee, a meal or spend an afternoon together doing something you think she would like. Reply, I hope she doesn't think that I put in a lot of effort to satisfy her, but yeah, I'll try to see if she'll give me the chance to talk. Commenter 2. Why not? We, women, love when a man puts in a lot of effort to satisfy us. Don't you love when a woman makes an effort towards you, whether it's inside or outside of the bedroom? Commenter 3. Pretty sure OP was missing a comma after that, which completely changed the meaning. Actually it probably should have been a colon, but a comma would have done. Reply, oh that's not what I meant, lol. I meant like I hope she doesn't think I don't like her. If I ever get the chance to be with her again I'd put in the same kind of effort to satisfy her. Commenter 4. Now is when she's feeling most vulnerable and wondering if you like her. I think you should message her or try to talk to her now, even if she can't talk until later. Reply, he'll try contacting her and see if she answers. Commenter 5. Excellent, I hope things work out between you. Update. A couple things have happened since then. I ended up texting her and she replied back instantly. I asked her if we could see each other to talk and she agreed. She asked if I only wanted to be FWB with her, or if I was willing to give her a chance. I told her I actually enjoyed spending time with her and that I would like to keep seeing her but more seriously. She told me she was acting shy because she had not been with a guy who got her off like that before and she was embarrassed about how she reacted to it. I told her it was okay and that I enjoyed my time with her. I officially asked her on a date and last night we went out to dinner and went bowling afterwards. It felt so good seeing her happy and she said I shouldn't have waited so long to actually give her a chance. We just have one other thing I need advice on. My sister doesn't know we went out and she still has no clue about us being a couple now. How can I bring this up with my sister? I really don't know how she will react and I really do like her friend / my now girlfriend. Comments. Commenter 1. I took your advice and asked, blah blah, out on a date, but I didn't want to say anything until afterwards. It went well, so I wanted you to know, and I wanted to say thanks. Done and done. She'll be stoked for you. If you guys decide to tell her about the hookup as well, that's up to you. Commenter 2. Imagine that conversation, yeah, your brother made me come harder than anyone ever has. Reply, I hope she wouldn't tell her that, lol. Commenter 3. I hope not, too. My brother is married to one of my friends. She talks about that stuff with her other friends, lol. Reply, I don't know if I will tell her about the hookup until later down the line, haha. This soon she would probably be mad, but once we get more serious I don't think she will care. Commenter 4. I'm glad everything worked out and you now have a girlfriend. I would talk to your GF and devise a plan on how you both tell your sister. I think it will best be done if you do it together so your sister knows you are both serious about each other. Stories number 2. Aita for refusing to apologize to my aunt for embarrassing her by attending a family wedding with my child. I, 23F, had my daughter when I was 20. Her dad and I were never in a relationship, just a dumb situationship from college. He's not really involved, but my parents have been super supportive, and I live with them while finishing my degree and working part-time. We live in the deep south where religion and appearances still matter a lot, especially to the older generation. So last weekend, my cousin, 28M, got married, and the whole family was invited, including me and my daughter, 3F. I thought it would be fine, but it turns out I misread the situation. I had assumed the bride was fine with me bringing my daughter since I wasn't given any indication otherwise. The invitation just had my name on it, not "no kids" or anything, but apparently she hadn't agreed to it and only found out when I showed up. However, she didn't make a fuss of it. At the wedding, everything went fine, until my daughter got a bit fussy during the reception dinner and I took her outside for a walk to calm her down. When I came back, the bride's mom pulled me aside and told me I was drawing attention and ruining the picture she was trying to present to her more traditional friends. She said it was inappropriate for me to show up with a child born out of wedlock at such a proper event, and that I should have had the discretion to either leave my daughter at home or not come at all. I was shocked. I told her I wasn't ashamed of my daughter, and I left shortly after because I was so upset. Now, a few days later, my mom says that the bride expects an apology and is deeply humiliated by my lack of class. My mom says I don't have to apologize but that it might be easier, for the sake of peace. I don't feel like I did anything wrong. I wasn't causing drama. My kid was dressed nicely, polite, as much as a 3-year-old can be, and we even left early. But some other family members are saying I should have known better than to show up with a child that reminds everyone of a mistake. Stories number 3. Aita for telling my estranged father's soon-to-be ex-wife/mistress to complain to someone who cares about her. I'm 19M, estranged from my father. I went no contact 5 years ago. Yes, I was young and yes, I had to go through the courts to stop seeing my dad. But it worked. Having a therapist on side helped a lot. Once the decision was given to me, I chose not to see or speak to him again, and I have stood by my decision. Why? My dad cheated on my mom, had a few women he cheated with, but one in particular was like a regular mistress. When my mom kicked dad out, he moved in with his mistress and married her. He fought for full custody of me and lost, but 50-50 custody was given. My dad and his mistress talked shit about my mom. Dad said she was lazy and good for nothing. She never cooked his lunches for work as good as she did my school lunches. He told me she had an issue with him wanting to go out most nights and that she sucked the fun out of life. As well as calling her a cheap CNT and other stuff. His mistress said she would be a better mom to me than mom and that my mom wouldn't know what a good mother looked like if one went up and slapped her. She called my mom ugly and gross. I hated them. His mistress tried to be super sweet outside of that to me, but it made me sick and I gave her a super hard time until the judge stopped forcing me to go to their house. After I stopped going to dad's house, mom got sick. She died 2 years ago. It was hands down the worst experience of my life. I was still a minor, but I went to live with other family and I'm still living with them through college. A few weeks ago my dad's mistress contacted me on social media and told me she had filed for divorce because my dad had cheated on her and given her STDs and that he let one of those SL*TS attack her. I ignored her message and blocked her. A week later she reached out to me on a different platform and I did the same thing. Then it happened for a third time. She must have realized I wouldn't respond, so she tacked me down in person when I was on my lunch break at work and she sat at the table with me and tried to tell me all about her problems with dad. I cut her off before she could say much and I told her to complain to someone who cares about her because I don't care if he gave her dozens of STDs or whether he let all his affair partners come for her. She's not my concern and I had nothing to offer her except for the disgust I still felt about her being a mistress. She yelled at me, called me some names and stormed off. She apparently found someone on dad's side who cared about her or felt bad for her because now a relative on dad's side has tried to shame me for saying that to her face and not offering some kind of empathy. I don't feel like she deserved it, but this relative does. I had to block them because they were not backing down. Stories number 4. Aita for refusing to loan money to my sister for my niece's college fund after she spent most of it on prom. So I, 37F, have a sister, 40F, who's a single mom to my niece, 17F. She's done most of it on her own since her daughter was born, and while we've had ups and downs, I've always tried to be supportive. My husband and I have a 14-year-old daughter ourselves, and we're not exactly rolling in it either, but we've been careful, planned ahead, and have tried to keep things stable. About 5 years ago, I started contributing money toward a college fund for my niece. Nothing huge, just here and there. Birthdays, tax return leftovers, a couple hundred from my bonus, that kind of thing. My sister said she was adding some too, and over time it grew to just over $11,000. The entire idea, which we both agreed on, was that it was for college only. Not rent, not clothes, not bills, and definitely not prom. Well, prom was in late April. My niece looked absolutely beautiful. She had this pale blue fitted dress, her hair was done in this really pretty updo, makeup was on point, nails, shoes, they all looked great. She and her friends got a limo, went to some Italian restaurant before the dance, and did a little photo shoot thing. It wasn't celebrity level extravagant, but it was definitely expensive. I remember seeing the photos and thinking, wow, they all look amazing, followed immediately by, how exactly did they pay for this? So earlier this week I was going over some financial stuff. I've been managing the account the college fund is in since it's technically in my name too, and I see that about $7,000 is gone with no explanation. It wasn't hacked or anything, it was my sister. She used it to cover prom expenses and didn't even mention it to me. When I called her, she didn't even seem that surprised to hear from me. She was kind of cagey at first, then got defensive and said she only used some of the fund and that there's still enough for a couple semesters at community college if niece doesn't get a scholarship somewhere else. Like that makes it okay. I told her I was shocked she didn't ask me, and she just went off about how it was her daughter's only prom, that she deserved something special, and how she's been through so much lately and she just wanted her to feel like she belonged. I get that things have been rough for them. But I still couldn't believe she just dipped into that money like it was hers. Then she hits me with, I was gonna rebuild the fund over the summer anyway, but I'm short now, can you spot me like $2,000 just for now? I told her no. I didn't yell or anything, just a clear no. And now it's a full-on meltdown. She said I'm holding money over her head, that I'm showing my true colors, that I don't really care about her or my niece, and now she's dragged our mom and other relatives into it. My mom texted me this whole long thing about families sticking together and how prom only happens once. And the worst part? My niece texted me too. She said she didn't know the money came from her college fund and she's sorry, and that she doesn't want me and her mom to fight. And now I feel like absolute garbage. But like, what was I supposed to do? I've got my own daughter, and we've been saving bit by bit for her too. I can't just casually drop thousands of dollars to refill a fund someone else emptied without even telling me. My husband agrees with me and said if we want to help my niece with college in the future, we can, but not directly through my sister. I love my niece and I want her to succeed. But I don't trust my sister with money anymore. And I'm sick of being made out to be some villain for having boundaries. Comments. Commenter. Profile badge for the achievement top 1% commenter top 1% commenter. 7K for prom. Why do I believe that she took some and put it in her own pocket? Was her dress couture? Custom made with actual diamonds. Your sister has definitely been pilfering. Reply. Yep, thanks for pointing this out. It was more than prom. Commenter. I just footed the bill for my older niece and nephew's proms. I spent around $1,000 total, including giving them money to eat. No way she spent $7,000 unless she was buying expensive designer stuff. Commenter. Yep, no limo, but I got my dream princess prom dress, hair, makeup, and venue costs for all my party for under 1,000 Canadian dollars. There's no excuse for $7,000, USD. Stories number 5. My 21F, BF, 20, told me he would break up with me if I got breast augmentation surgery. So I have what is known as tuberous breasts, where during puberty the breast tissue doesn't develop like it should. The breasts develop droopy and the areolas are large and not proportional to the size of my breast. My plastic surgeon has confirmed this is what it is and told me that if I wanted to correct it, surgery is the only option. The surgery would include releasing the constricted tissue and then an implant will be placed above the muscle. I am extremely insecure of my breasts, always have been because I know they don't look normal. I just want to be confident with my body and feel sexy when I take my shirt off. I mentioned this procedure to my boyfriend and he immediately shot it down. He says he doesn't want a girl with fake boobs. He won't even listen to me when I tell him how gross my breasts make me feel. I 100% plan on going through with the surgery. I told my doctor up front that I did not want large breasts, just full breasts, and he told me that was absolutely achievable. Boyfriend still does not agree. My appointment is in April, the day before mine and my BF's anniversary and 3 days after my 22nd birthday. Please tell me if I'm doing the right thing. Is there any way to explain to him how this makes me feel? Any advice is appreciated. TLDR, I have tuberous breasts and the only way to correct it is surgery. My BF completely shot down the idea because he doesn't want to date a girl with fake boobs. Relevant comments. Commenter. I love you and respect you. I want to thank you for your honest opinion. However, I need to do this for my own mental health as I want to be comfortable in my own skin. While I would hope you would be willing to wait to see the results of the surgery rather than prejudging what is happening, I understand if you won't. This is happening as it is something I need. Stop referring to it as breast augmentation around him and only refer to it as breast reconstruction. Maybe that will sink in. Good luck. Edit. I go to work and this blows up. Thank you for the gold and silver. Reply. I really like this approach, thank you. I usually just shut down BC. He is not very open-minded and it frustrates me that he doesn't listen. Maybe this will help me make some progress. I replying to commenter. I'm not blaming him at all for having an opinion. I'm upset because someone I care about deeply won't hear me out when I tell him that I want to do something that will help me gain confidence. He has many tattoos, full sleeves, chest and some of his neck, and I have been supportive of all of them. Definitely not the same though. Commenter 2. Info. Why does he not want to be with a girl with fake boobs? What is the actual reason for that conditional thinking? Reply. All he said was, they're gross and you can always tell when they're fake. Not true though, lol. When asked about why she won't dump him, 98% of comments here have told me to dump him. While I appreciate the support, lol, I'm not going to dump him over this. My BF means a lot to me and I plan to fully understand his reason behind not wanting me to have this procedure done before I make any further decisions. Update. Hi. About a year ago I was having trouble making the decision of correcting a breast deformity called tuberous breasts because my boyfriend told me he didn't want me to get it done. A lot of comments were so sweet and encouraging. I want to thank you all for the kind words. So update. I had surgery today and I still have a boyfriend. The same boyfriend. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Details woman, we need details. Is it still the same BF, lol? How did you convince him? How did the surgery go? Are the results what you wanted them to be? Reply. LMAO, you're right, I'm sorry. Same BF. Basically I said, I understand that you are not happy with my decision, and I have to respect that. The same way I really want you to respect my decision. This is something I feel strongly about and I know will improve my self-esteem. He was still a little doubtful and wasn't too excited, but he said he wouldn't be upset because he understands why I want to do it. He's a bit happier now that it's over and he knows I'm safe and happy. Surgery was amazing. I would do it 10 more times if I had to. They gave me a shot to relax my nerves and from then on, I don't remember too much lol. I know I was happy because the meds made me feel great. Results are better than I could ever have imagined. It will take about a year for my breasts to take the full shape, so my boobs will continue to look better and better for a whole year. I'm so happy. Commenter 2. Sorry to intrude. I also have tuberous breasts and have considered fixing them for years, but I honestly don't know if I should. Generally, how much did it cost for you to do so? Reply. After it was all said and done I paid $6,900. Commenter 3. How come you are still with him? Did you talk it through or it just never came up on conversation again? Reply. We talked about it a few more times. I kept telling him it's a reconstruction, not necessarily an augmentation. It's a literal deformity that I have. I explained the entire deformity to him and how it affects me, and after that he was more understanding. Stories number 6. Aita for not making my son give rides to his stepsister from school. I, 45M, share 3 kids with my ex, 16M, 14M, and 11F. We divorced 10 years ago. My ex, D, remarried 8 years ago and has another bio daughter, 7F, and a stepdaughter, 14F. My kids have never really gotten along with their stepsister. She pretty much gets whatever she wants. She has always had her own room and bathroom at their mom's house. My daughter had to share with her brothers. She does not do chores and expects my kids to do whatever she asks them to do. Things have been really bad the last 2 years, and a little over a year ago, my oldest came to live with me full time. A few months later, his brother followed. My oldest turned 16 back in December. I bought a car for him. My only request was that he would take his brother and sister, my kids, to school, which he agreed to do. My sons and their stepsister go to the same school. Not long after I got him the car, Dee started asking that my son take his stepsister to and from school. My ex's neighborhood is on the route to school from my house. He refused. My ex tried to make me make him do it. I refused. Well, last month, we got a winter storm come in. The first round was not supposed to be bad, so there was school. But, quickly the weather got worse than predicted, so the school let out early. My sons were walking to the car with a friend to head to my house. Their stepsister was standing near the car with a friend and was on her phone. She told my son, "Mom says she cannot come get us, so we need to ride with you." My son refused. She handed my son the phone and my ex was on the line. She demanded that my son give his stepsister and her friend a ride. She was across town getting groceries before the storm got worse. He refused. His stepsister started yelling at him. He ignored her and they got in the car to leave. She and her friend got in front of the car so he couldn't move. He honked his horn and told them to get the fuck out of the way. They eventually did, and my son left her and her friend at the school. A teacher saw the incident, so we were called by the administration about it. We told them what happened. My sons were not in trouble, but they said, "We need to work out this family conflict." Afterwards, my ex and her husband tried to talk to me and blamed me. I told them, it isn't my fault y'all raised an entitled brat who no one likes. Y'all have enabled her behavior for years. I have tried to get y'all to address it, but I am done. Until you stop being a worthless mother and stepdad, I do not want to hear shit from either one of you. Your own sons despise you. That is all on you. Then we left. I have not spoken to my ex since. I do feel bad for my daughter because tensions have been high at my ex's house and she is there half the time. Relevant comments. Did OOP's ex contribute to pay for their son's car? Reply, my ex did not pay for the car or contribute to it in any way. She does not pay insurance on it or put gas in it. My son has not lived with her in over a year. She does not get to tell my son what to do with that car. Period. This is not my ex's car. She does not get to say who can or cannot ride in it. I didn't even know the stepsister's friend who also wanted to ride. My son gets to decide who he trusts to be in a car he is driving. Period. The car is legally mine, it is in my name. OOP responds to comments on his son being an asshole for leaving the stepsister and her friend stranded in a snowstorm. Reply, school was open and students were directed to wait in cafeteria until their ride showed up, if they did not have a car ride already. I believe she had to wait like 90 minutes for my ex to get there. But, the school was open with some teachers and administrators staying until all the kids were picked up. OOP explains the setup regarding why his sons and daughter shared a room together at their mother's house while the stepsister had her own space. OOP, here was the setup when my boys lived there. 1. Master bedroom was where my ex and her husband slept. 2. There is a mother-in-law suite with an ensuite bathroom. Stepsister had that. 3. My kids shared room and bathroom. 4. Youngest slept in a little area connected to the master bedroom and used the master bathroom. Now, without my sons there. 1. Stepsister had own bedroom and bathroom. 2. Stepsister has ensuite still. Had that. 3. My daughter and younger daughter share room and bathroom. Update. Looks like, at least until June 5th, it would be illegal for my son to take his stepsister and her friend home. I am not going for full custody for my daughter because she is highly attached to her little sister and would be sad to not see her every other week. But, I take my daughter to and from school every day, it is across the street from my office. While things are tense at my ex's, it does not appear that she is being treated any differently than before. There are no buses available for my kids and their stepsister are there on an inter-district transfer. Update. A little over a week ago, my ex reached out to try and see what we could compromise on about the situation. I told her there was nothing to compromise about. I explained that until June, he legally cannot take her anyways, I do not want her in the car, and our son does not want her in the car. My ex said it simply is not doable for her to take her or her dad to take her to school every day. If our son could take her on Tuesdays, they could do the other days. I told her no. This Tuesday, their stepsister demanded a ride. My son told her no, and she pushed him, a teacher saw it and she is facing possible in-school suspension. Disciplinary issues like this could compromise her inter-district transfer. Relevant comments. OOP explains about his state's laws about new drivers, considering his 16-year-old son and who he can only take in his car. Reply, our law is a little different. He can take one passenger or unlimited number of passengers as long as they are in the same household. The law in our state is, if someone 21 or older isn't in the car, then until 16 and a half, he can have one passenger or anyone who is a member of your household. If it was only his stepsister in the car, he could drive her. But, obviously he also has his brother with him, and sometimes his sister, so he cannot drive her then. It has nothing to do with the age of the passengers. He generally did not drive friends around. On this occasion he did drive a friend around, which was illegal. He will not be doing that until June. On June 5th, he is 16 and a half and the restriction is lifted. I do not see it as dying on a hill. The school is 30 minutes from my house. I got the car specifically for school to make my life more convenient. It makes absolutely no sense to not use the car for school. How was the stepsister getting to school prior to OOP's son getting his car? Reply, my ex was taking her. My ex's husband recently had to switch jobs and took a pay cut. My ex does shift work. She is on day shift right now. She wants to switch to afternoon shift because it pays more. If she switches, she cannot pick her up. Most days her husband can run, pick her up, then take her back to work, but apparently they have a weekly team meeting on Tuesdays that would prevent that. This is what she has told me. I have not verified any of it. New update. On June 5th, my son will be 16 and a half. Because he took driver's ed, at that time, there will be no restriction on number of passengers he can transport. There is no bus available due to the school being in a different district. Public transit is absolutely terrible where we are, both in terms of safety and time. Second update. Contrary to popular belief, my son's car was not keyed or anything like that. After the incident in the update, my sons and their stepsister ignored each other at school. Since that incident, my ex has tried to act sweet and kind when we have interacted. All involved schools let out last week for summer. On Monday, I had a meeting run long and I could not drop my daughter off at my ex's as I typically do. So, I had my son do the drop-off for me. When he got there, my ex asked to talk to him for a minute. She asked if she pays him, if he would agree to take his stepsister to and from school starting in the fall. As mentioned in my comments, my ex has switched shifts so she cannot pick up her stepdaughter from school. Her husband typically has to leave work to get his daughter from the school, and that is what has happened most days. But it is starting to cause issues at his job. My son told her no and came home. That night, she calls me and asks if I would be interested in doing joint family therapy with her and all three of our kids. I told her, before that can happen, she, her husband, and her stepdaughter need to make a full and complete apology to our kids for their treatment over the years. She said, I do not know if I can make that happen. I told her, well, that is what needs to happen before I would consider your proposal. My kids and I already do individual therapy. This morning, she forwarded me some texts from one of her friends who is a teacher at the high school my ex's stepdaughter would have to attend if she switches schools. She was telling my ex that there are only a few spots left in the few honors/AP courses that sophomores can take, so if the stepdaughter wants in those classes, she needs to enroll in the school now. So, my ex then said, I am desperate. I want her to stay where she is at. That is only possible if our oldest son agrees to take her. But, if I need to switch schools for her, I need to know now. I responded, this ain't got shit to do with our kids, and the fact that you are bending yourself into pretzels for stepdaughter is the problem because you do not do that shit for our kids. Do not contact me unless it is about our kids. That is the update. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, maybe you already covered this, but where TF is stepsister's mother? Why isn't this issue being handled between her bio parents? No one in your household is the AH and hasn't been from the beginning. Reply, her mom is long gone. Do not know all the details. She calls my ex mom. Commenter 2, TLDR, it sounds like you are using the children in the middle of your battle. Please don't do that. Don't make your son do anything. Maybe ask him. Try to do it in a way that doesn't betray your hatred. Probably too late on that. Reply, my son does not want to give her a ride. I did not in any way make that decision for him. He decided that every time it has been asked of him. Can't the ex ask her stepdaughter's friends' parents to help with carpool? Reply, I do not know about the stepkid's friends, but I will say, I looked into carpooling back before my oldest had a car and did not find any options. We live about 20-ish miles from the school, 30 minutes from the school in standard traffic. I ended up just having to take him every day. What about rideshare in the area? Reply, Ubers are very expensive where we are. Commenter 3, wow, the pettiness in this saga is unreal. YTA with a side of ESH. I get that there is history. But your son is already, per your agreement with him, taking your daughter to school, and she lives with them half the time. It would be absolutely no problem to take the stepsister too. You should agree to family therapy. You want an apology, family therapy is a great place to start. Refusing therapy until you get something that you need therapy to get to is just ridiculous. Reply, he rarely takes his sister to school. He has to be available, per our agreement, to take her. But, in practice, I take her. Do not know why therapy is a prerequisite to get an apology from my ex, her husband and stepdaughter. Especially considering her husband and stepdaughter will not be in the therapy. My son, for good reason, does not want to take her. He endured all types of cruelty at her hands for years. Do not think it is right to place him in a position to be around her in a closed space for an hour a day. He has a right to his peace. OOP responds to a downvoted comment regarding his faults for the whole situation and should force his son to take the stepsister. Reply, in no way, shape, or form do I think I am faultless. I have faults. Everyone does. But, other than saying I should not have divorced my wife, which happened 10 years before the events at issue, you are rather vague on what I should or should not have done. It is fine to say, you have faults too, OP. No argument here. But, if that is all you wanted to say, why you bringing up my divorce makes no sense. Regarding my son and spite, I am defending him here. He has been through hell and back dealing with his stepsister. If this was some petty teenage angst, and nothing more, I would be the first to say he needs to course correct. But, that is not it. But, I think that is what you are perceiving it as. And I have no idea why. So, I felt the need to provide further context. Stories number 7. My 20F brother, 16M, is dead. My family is awful. I'm still a mess. I ran away from home when I was 16. My family was, and is, incredibly toxic. My father was verbally, mentally, and emotionally abusive. My mother enabled him and was mentally abusive in her own right. I was forced to work full-time in addition to going to school because I was expected to pay rent in addition to repayment of money spent on taking care of me as a kid. I'm not proud of it, but I started hiding some of my tips and lying about how much I made when my father asked for his payments. Eventually the owner of the restaurant where I worked offered to let me live in the apartment upstairs for very cheap in exchange for some extra city work. I agreed and I moved out one night in secret. There was an awful blow-up and my father showed up at the restaurant and demanded to know where I was. Thankfully the hostess and another waitress knew everything and told him I quit and they didn't know where I was. I haven't spoken to my father since the night I left home. He knows I'm alive and well because I called my mother and I know she told him. I wouldn't tell her where I was staying, just that I was okay and wasn't coming back. I waited until I was sure I could make it on my own to let her know. The one person I stayed in touch with was my younger brother. We emailed at first and then texted, once he got a phone, several times a week. I wouldn't say we were super close or anything, but closer than anyone else in the family. I felt guilty about leaving him behind with my parents and our equally abusive older sister, 23/F, who still lives at home with them. My father was always worse to my brother. Maybe because he was the only boy so he could take it, I don't know. But he was terrible to him. I am convinced he drove him to suicide. A little over a year ago, my brother took his own life. It gutted me. I tried to be there for him and support him as best I could, but I work all the time and I wish I could have done more. I feel like I failed him. I found out from my mother. She called me from his phone the morning after they found him. I also found out that my father was just going to abandon him at the morgue and let him be buried by the county. I couldn't do that to him, so I called a funeral home and arranged for him to be cremated. I took his ashes and scattered them on the beach where we used to go fishing together. I think it's what he would have wanted. My father is angry though. Really angry. I paid for my brother's cremation with a credit card. It was $6,000 and I don't really have the money to spare, but it was important. It's going to take years to pay it all off, but he was worth that to me. But that isn't how my father sees it. He somehow has this crazy idea that I had $1 million life insurance policy on my brother and that I'm rich now. He and my sister have been showing up at the restaurant where I used to work and demanding to see me. The owner keeps calling me and telling me about it. I've called the cops but they won't do anything unless the owner wants to charge them with trespassing. I called my mother and tried to talk some sense into her, but she believes this insane story about life insurance and now she thinks I killed my brother to collect the insurance money. My sister keeps calling me from different phone numbers and leaving awful threatening messages demanding her cut of the money I don't freaking have. They are all crazy and hurtful and I am worried this is going to get worse. What can I do? TLDR, my brother died. I paid to have him cremated. Now my family thinks I got insurance money and they won't leave me alone. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, your boss is great, but he's going to fire you soon. Your father is just like a rotting disease that destroys everything he touches. You have to get out of your area ASAP. Talk to your boss, come up with a plan that gets you as far away as possible, across the country if necessary. Ask if your boss will give you a good reference. Then just leave. Look up youth hostels in an area where there are lots of jobs. Apply at any job possible to get on your feet. You don't have to put up with this stalking and abuse. But if the police are not doing their job, then running towards a new life is the best option. Good luck, I know you are a survivor and will achieve miracles. Reply, that description of my father hits home. You're right. They aren't just going to move on and let me go. I wish I could convince them there isn't any money and to just let me live my life. I don't even think I could have gotten life insurance on my brother if I wanted to. Leaving will be scary, but I think you're right. I think I have to. Did OOP's parents know where she lives now? Reply, they know where I used to work and who my friends are. They have harassed people I know a few times. I still live above the restaurant but I don't work there anymore. Utilities and stuff are in my landlord's name. Commenter 2, maybe it's time to seek out a lawyer and get a restraining order. These people are insane. Commenter 3, I am so awfully sorry you have to go through this. You did right by your brother and that makes you an awesome sibling. I hope you know that you did the right thing. I'm so incredibly sorry your family is harassing you like that and I really hope you're in a safe place where they can't reach you. Please talk to someone you trust about your situation, this is an awful burden to carry alone. Your family wouldn't have a right to get a cut even if you had taken out a life insurance. You don't owe them anything and you deserve to live a peaceful life and keep your sanity. I wish you all the best and hope you can leave this horrible situation soon. Update 1. It's been a while, a lot has happened, some good some bad. I am prepared for a lot of, I told you so, also more, this is fake. DMs. But so many people wrote to me over the holiday and offered support and asked about me and my situation that I wanted to post an update. First of all, thank you to everyone who replied to my last post. It means a lot to me that so many people cared. The advice and support I received was really desperately needed. I didn't know how much. Honestly, when I posted, I was hoping for some kind of magic answer that would get my unreasonable family to just listen to me. What I got was much more. I guess I couldn't see just how blind I was to certain people in my life. My mother especially. I always labeled her, in my head, as the good parent. She and I always had a somewhat okay relationship, even if she let my father do all kinds of awful things. Even after she started accusing me of killing my brother for money, I kept hoping she would snap out of it if I could just convince her of how life insurance works. But a lot of the comments made me realize she really is an enabler herself and that I really did need to cut ties and move on. That was so hard for me. I didn't want to think that I'd never be able to see my parents or my sister again, not even for Christmas. I know there's a lot of bad in what they've done, but there were good times too. Times I will always miss. So many people offered kindness and support. I couldn't allow myself to accept any monetary donations that were offered, but I do appreciate the gesture. One especially kind and amazing Redditor offered me something I couldn't turn down. They helped me get a job at the company they worked for in a new state. Without their help, I don't know if I'd be here to post this update. I won't call them out, but they know how grateful I am. Okay, on to the actual update. As I mentioned, I have a new job. It's better than what I was doing and it has some great benefits attached. It's in a new state, where I am now, along with a new roommate and her kitty. Uprooting myself and finding a place to live in a pandemic was challenging, but my roommate has been awesome and very understanding. She knows my situation and won't let anyone claiming to be family inside, if they should somehow manage to find me. Everything is in her name that can be, and she's happy to keep it that way to help keep me safe. I figured things out with my new employer, who allowed me to do almost everything related to interviewing and screening online, so I knew I'd have a job waiting for me. I also found my new roommate online and we FaceTimed a bunch, so we knew we'd get along when I got there. She even picked me up and helped me get settled. When I told my landlord and former boss I'd be leaving for good, she was sad but happy for me. She waived my last month's rent and even gave me a Christmas card with some cash in it to help me start my new life. But it wasn't all good. I made a mistake and I know a lot of you warned me about it. I could not leave without saying goodbye. Plus, I needed something to remember my brother by. He had a huge collection of old band shirts and I wanted just one of them. I knew my mother hadn't touched his room, saving evidence for the investigation, she said, so I knew she would have one. I called her up and told her I wanted to see her. I told her that I wanted to have dinner with her and her alone, and she agreed not to tell my father or my sister about it. I told her I wanted one of his shirts and she agreed to bring one for me. I told her I was leaving town and that I wanted to say goodbye for closure, and because it was Christmas, which was always such a special time for her and me, I wanted to meet somewhere in public, so I picked a restaurant we had been to before that I knew she liked. I got there early and watched her come in, so I knew she was really alone before she sat down. We had a really nice meal together. She seemed to have actually changed her mind about my father's crazy allegations. We talked about my brother. I told her where I'd scattered his ashes in case she wanted to visit with him. When it came time to leave, I paid the bill and asked about the shirt. She told me she left it in the car so it didn't get stains on it. She had been so nice and friendly that dinner that I trusted her. I went with her to the parking lot to get my brother's shirt out of the car for me. My father was waiting there for us. And he had a gun. As soon as I saw him, I screamed as loud as I could and ran. I went back inside the restaurant and yelled that there was a man after me and he had a gun. He barged in screaming and I ran off into the bathroom and locked myself in. I called the police and I waited in there with the dispatcher on the phone until they came and got him. I pressed charges and so did the restaurant. My mother lied about the shirt. I should have known she would. That is my biggest regret, I think, because showing up there like that was really the push I needed to finally cut all of them out of my life for good. I am sad that I have nothing to remember my brother by, but I like to think he's looking over me. I now have an order of protection. I changed my number and deleted all my social media. And I am thinking of changing my name, too. Maybe taking my brother's first name as my surname as a way to honor him by. I hope 2021 can be my year. TLDR, I didn't listen when people told me to cut all contact. My father was arrested. I moved away and started a new life. Editor's note, OOP did not leave any comments for the update, but sharing some of top comments. Top comments. Commenter 1, holy crap, I wish the best for your new life. Later in life, years and years in the future, when she finds you and reaches out claiming she's changed. Remember the moment she sat and had dinner with you knowing she'd trick you into a situation where you could have been killed. Protect yourself and never interact with these people again. Commenter 2, changing your name will give you a whole new level of living life. I chose my true name nearly 8 years ago and it's been one hell of a ride. I just wanted to say, if you do ahead with it, I think it's beautiful of you to use your brother's name as part of your identity. 2021's gonna bring a few new challenges, so take your time and brace yourself for some crazy times ahead. In the meantime, you embrace your dreams and yourself. You're gonna be amazing. Hell, you already are. Commenter 3, good lord, the amount you've been through so young is atrocious. I would suggest trauma counseling as a start. Are there charities in your area you could look up? Honestly though, I'm astonished by your bravery, courage and resilience. Put your faith in those who deserve it. You haven't given up, and to me that is quite incredible. Remember that OP, in your darkest times you fought tooth and nail. I'm sure your brother would be proud of you for putting your father where he belongs and that you are safe. I'm so sorry you couldn't get something to remember him by. Times are shit right now, but you're not alone, people care. Update 2, it's been a while and I honestly forgot about this site entirely. I don't use any social media or anything, so I'm not really in the habit of keeping up with these things. But Reddit sent an email about a privacy update and reminded me about it, so I thought I would share an update in case anyone still cares. The past 4 years have been a lot of growth for me. I did change my name as some suggested. I didn't end up taking my brother's name out of fear of linking me to my former family and making it easier for them to find me. I did want a connection though, so I took the fairly common last name of his favorite singer as my last name and a first name I've always loved and wanted to name a daughter someday. My roommate was amazing. She got married last year and moved out with her now husband. I still see them occasionally as friends. She let me keep the apartment and I also ended up with her kitty because he liked me better and her husband is mildly allergic. So we're besties now, facing the world together. I ended up leaving the job that kind Redditor helped set me up with after 2 years. I found a much better role closer to the apartment. It pays better and I can walk to work. I'd call it a win. I know everyone is wondering if there has been more family drama, but luckily there hasn't really. I haven't heard from any of them since I left. I am waiting for it though and trying my best to make sure it can't ever happen. I do wish I had something left of my brother's. He'd be 20 now, the same age I was when all of this went down. It still hurts to know he won't ever be 20, or 30, or anything else. I wish I had kept a piece of him or maybe had some of his ashes made into a necklace or something just to have him with me. Everything happened so fast and I never thought I'd end up leaving home, so I always thought I'd just be able to go visit our beach if I wanted to talk to him at all. But I guess that's the trade-off. I don't date at all. I really keep pretty much to myself, at least for now. I don't think I can trust people enough to get close. I am in therapy and it's helping. Things are honestly pretty good right now. I just wanted everyone who wondered to know that. So many kind people offered support and advice and opened my eyes to realities I wasn't ready to recognize. I might not be here if not for them, especially the person who put me in touch with resources and helped me find a new job. I owe my new life to them, so thank you. Top comments. Commenter 1, I'm genuinely flabbergasted by how much you've overcome. Your grit and gorgeous spirit shine through these words, leaving me starry-eyed and rooting for you more than ever. Commenter 2, sweetheart, your brother will always be with you, he's in your heart. Sending you love and good thoughts, and make sure that you have the life that your brother would have wanted for you. Commenter 3, you mentioned our beach. I assume you don't want to visit it in fear of being recognized, but could you have someone else get you a bit of sand, a pebble or a shell in memory of your brother? Stories number 8. Aita for walking out when I saw my ex-boyfriend. Ick, why, but I find this kind of funny LMAO. I'm using my younger sister's account BTW, so I might not be online much. Okay, so I am 21, female, and my ex-BF Aiden is 20. 3 days ago my BSF Madison invited me to celebrate Thanksgiving with her and our other friends. We were able to invite partners, siblings, etc. My older sister 24, arrived before I did. So a little over a while later, she texted me, but I was driving and my phone was on DND, so I couldn't read her message. Plus I don't want to risk getting a ticket lol, and also, before I left my house, she called me and said that she drove to my BSFS, Madison's, house an hour earlier because Madison needed help with something and I don't know what it was. Well, when I finally arrived to Madison's house, I parked into the driveway and got out. I made sure to double check if I had locked my car or not before I headed inside. The door was unlocked and I didn't need to knock because Madison says that we aren't strangers and that she trusted me most. Sweet, but either way, I still texted her to let her know that I had arrived and she reacted with a thumbs up. I opened the door, walked inside and closed it behind me. I walked inside the living room, no one was there. I then went to the dining room and everyone was sitting there while some were setting up the table, placing plates, forks, spoons, napkins, etc. However, when I took a few steps inside the dining room, I saw Aiden sitting on the side of the table where I could clearly see his face and my brain really said, oh hell no, and without thinking for a second, I turned around, opened the front door and walked out. I still had my shoes on so I was quick to leave. I thought that no one had saw me, but when I got into my car and started the engine, I heard Madison shouting my name. I know this might sound rude, but I didn't even glance at her and drove off immediately. I got a few texts from Madison, but I didn't hear any notifications because I had my phone on DND, but when I did, I was already home and received like 10 plus messages from her and they were all pretty much the same. Hey, my name, why did you leave so suddenly? Dinner hasn't started yet and you're already gone, where did you go? Did something urgent happen? Why did you leave? She be acting as if Aiden wasn't there, like girl, was I being paranoid or was Aiden really there? I just left her on read and haven't spoken to her or anyone else yet. Even today when she called me, I didn't answer. Thing is, my sister. I forgot about her and I haven't heard from her yet. Loudly crying face. I did text her before I wrote this post but she hasn't responded yet, so in the meantime, I'll be waiting for her response. Oh, and the message she had sent me said, yo, my name, Aiden just arrived with Madison's brother, Mason. Did you know that he was coming? I responded with no. Edit, the dining room and the living room were in front of each other. For example, dining room on the left, living room on the right. If any of y'all have any questions, feel free to ask. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, just be open about it, Aiden was there and I just noped out. Figured no one needed the drama. Reply, I wanted RO tell her about him but I didn't know what came up to me that made me shut up. But I did text her today and she hasn't responded yet. Commenter 2, one would think that Madison would know that you wouldn't be comfortable being around your ex. Madison's brother is TAH for bringing him, Aiden, and frankly Madison is a bit of an AH for not making him leave then pretending like she didn't know why you left. She absolutely knew why you left and a real BSF would have warned you. Reply, I didn't think of this TBH. Thank you for telling me, I'm gonna have a talk with her eventually. Commenter 3, this is not a friend. She knew he was there and didn't warn you. It doesn't matter if she invited him, probably did, or if she knew someone else brought him, she knew you broke up and wouldn't want to spend a holiday with him. She set you up to create drama. She is not a friend or good person. Reply, thank you, I'm starting to think about it now and it's actually quite confusing to me. She never hid something from me before but now that she did, I feel like there's something wrong. Update 1, hi lovelies. I know that y'all don't remember me but it's fine. First, I would like to thank those few PPL who commented on my last post. About 2 months ago, I made a post, on another account, ABT me leaving my, kinda ex, best friend's house after seeing my ex-BF there. Y'all can read it here, https://www.reddit.com/r/ada/s/av7hri7z0n, if the link works, so LMK if it doesn't. A quick recap, sorry if it's long. A month earlier before the incident, my best friend and I planned on spending Thanksgiving Christmas together, like how we used to do most of the times. That same week, she suggested that we spend it at her house and maybe I could spend the night there. Which, NGL, was a great idea, so I agreed. Well, fast forward to Thanksgiving, I arrived to her house and the door was unlocked, so I just let myself in. To make it clear, we've been best friends for many years, so it was normal for us to just go in each other's house at some times, especially in events, without knocking. And if you're gonna ask, yes, she gave me permission to. Once I was inside, my eyes immediately spotted a familiar figure, who definitely was Aiden, sitting at the side of the table where I could clearly see his face. I didn't even hesitate and immediately turned around and left. My best friend then tried to chase me down by yelling for me, but I was already gone by then. I definitely didn't ignore her, and like everybody else who went through the same situation, as soon as I drove back to my house, I had over 10 plus messages from her, basically asking why I left so early even though I had just arrived and that dinner was gonna start soon. I left her on scene. So sorry, I forgot to mention that my sister was gonna be there with us as well and that she arrived earlier before me for 2 reasons. 1, Madison needed her to be there for help with decorating, cooking and other stuff, all related to the event. But while my sister was there, she saw Aiden arriving with my best friend's brother, Mason, and texted me right away, but I couldn't respond or see the text because I was already driving to my best friend's house, and like I said in my last post, my phone was on D&D because I didn't want to risk getting a ticket. The second reason is that I had some really important stuff to do which, for some privacy reasons, I'll be keeping private. Sorry for the confusion. I only responded about 2 to 3 days later because I still couldn't believe what just happened that day. In the text, I said, "Hey, why didn't you tell me that Aiden was gonna be there? In fact, why would you or anyone invite him, knowing damn well what he did to me in the past?" Welp, she didn't know what to say to that and left me on scene for a couple of hours before texting me back, apologizing and saying that she didn't know that he was coming. I told her that was bullshit and that she knew damn well that he was gonna be there. She still hadn't answered me yet. The update: sorry to disappoint, but nothing much happened. After I sent that text, she never bothered to reply. Before I even knew it, she blocked me. Why? Maybe she's hiding something from me. I shouldn't be saying that and suspecting her, considering us still being best friends, but I can't help it. I've never heard from her or seen her again. I tried asking our other mutual friends about her and they all said that they didn't hear anything from her ever since that day. Yes, I told them what happened and how it ended. Some girls even said that she had blocked them the same day she blocked me. Now, the only one who, possibly, knows where she's at and or why she isn't responding to anyone is her brother. But I don't feel comfortable texting him and I don't think that I have the courage to. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's been nearly 2 months and I'm still blocked. I'll post again if something happens, but for now, I'll just continue enjoying life with my boyfriend. If anyone has any questions to ask, please do. I don't bite. I like reading y'all's opinions, especially the ones who offer advice. Thanks for reading. Edit. Some comments said that if I needed/wanted closure or anything, I have to text Mason, which, I kinda have the courage to. I have him added on IG but he rarely uses it, so if I'm willing to message him, it'll take a while for him to message me back. I'll try to make an update about this whole situation as soon as possible. Edit 2. Hey again y'all, I just wanted to tell y'all that I won't be able to respond to some comments since there are like a lot of them, 300 plus. I'm gonna try to read as many of your comments as possible, but please forgive me if I didn't respond. Thank you all for your support and kind words, I really appreciate it. And to those PPL who went through SMTH similar like this, sending much love and hugs to every one of you. I'll see when I will be able to update all relevant comments. Commenter 1, either your ex is now dating your ex best friend or this was some stupid attempt to get you back together with him. Sounds like your sister stayed. May want to ask her how things looked between the ex and best friend. Reply: damn, that first line sounds harsh. I've never experienced such thing and I don't ever want to. But I'll take your word for it. My sister said that he just stayed there chatting with the others but nothing more. Commenter 2, that's fucked up really, to me, it seems like she wasn't really your best friend if she could block you so easily. Maybe she was hiding something or just didn't care enough to make things right. Either way, you're better off without her. Reply: I agree, that's not how a best friend treats their other best friend. Thanks. Commenter 3, she didn't know he was coming to her house. Yeah, I definitely call BS. I think she was dating him or wanting to date him. She isn't a best friend or even a friend. You're better off without her. Reply: exactly. Like how wouldn't she know? A lot of people said that. I'll try to find out the truth as fast as possible so I could share it here. Does OOP sister talk with Madison? Reply: no, my sister and Madison don't even like each other for some reason. Update 2. Hey everyone, I'm back again with another update. But first, I'ma give them some names. Madison, ex-BSF, Aiden, ex-BF, and Mason, ex-BSF's brother. Hopefully y'all don't get confused or mixed up by these three. Also, the reason why I couldn't update or post sooner was because I really didn't have anything to update on. I said that I might have to talk to Mason to get answers, but well, things didn't go as planned. Basically, his sister was the one to reach out first. Yeah, my ex-BSF, the girl everyone suspected was dating my ex. I'm not saying that I didn't suspect her dating him as well, but I can't say that I fully did either. Madison unblocked me from everywhere, I think, and messaged me nearly 5 days ago, asking if we could meet up and have a talk. If I'm being honest, when I first saw her message my heart skipped a beat and it took me a few moments to process/realize if it was really her. No, because, YK, that one feeling when someone you haven't heard from in months or maybe even years, suddenly texts you out of the blue. Yeah, that feeling. I agreed because well, I really wanted to know whether she and Aiden were dating or not. That thought was eating my brain. Earlier today we met at a regular cafe. We sat awkwardly in front of each other for a few moments that felt like hours. And then she started initiating small talks with me, asking how I've been and if I'm doing okay. No honey, I've been miserable. I didn't say much and got to the point. I told her to tell me the truth and not dare lie about it. Didn't say anything at first but then said, okay. I first asked her about Aiden and why was he there despite her knowing how much I hated and resent him in the first place. She let out a huge sigh like she just lost a whole competition and then said that she hoped that we'll reconcile eventually and forget about the past. No way. I just nodded, looked her in the eyes and then said, "Are you and Aiden dating?" She just stared at me. Like deep in my soul. I didn't know what to do so I asked again. She tried avoiding that question by looking away and staying silent. It didn't stop me though. I told her, "If you don't answer me, consider this the last time you'll ever talk to me. Let alone see me." I would have left either way. Dear Redditors, after some back and forth she admitted to it. They're dating. Continuing on, she looked at me and I could hear the hesitation in her voice. She confirmed it. I asked for how long and she legit said a little over a year. Girl. No, I was for real shocked and speechless. I was like, what the fuck? And on top of that, she just casually said it. I decided to leave because I couldn't do it no more. I was disgusted and disappointed in her and I told her that. Her eyes started welling up with tears and then she started begging me to hear her out first but I couldn't even look at her. Then, she started full on crying so I just left her there. Home, I blocked her and her brother on everything. I know I didn't share why me and my ex broke up or what happened between us and I don't think that I'll ever will because for me, I want to keep it private and it's still traumatic. I might share some details about it in the future. Maybe, maybe not. But I reassure you that it was really really bad. This may not be the update y'all hoped for but hopefully it is in the next one. If SMTH else happened, I'll keep you updated. One last thing, if I didn't answer some of y'all's comments, I'm either busy, sleeping or at work. TYSM for the support. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, well you got it why she blocked you, also the BS of she wanting you to are with him, how cynical of her after she dating him for almost a year, that is absurd and you are doing right by cutting her from your life, you truly didn't need her for the last months I doubt you need her from here on out, she can screw the ex and receive the same treatment you received from him, and when she came crawling back for your forgiveness, just shut the door on her face. She doesn't deserve any from you. Also I would advise to expose her to the rest of the friends and your sister. For them to know why she blocked you in the first place and maybe others. This is not for revenge, this is A. For you to keep out of her reach the control of the narrative. B. To find out who or which others of the friends group knew and didn't tell you, so you know they're who you can count on. Good luck. Reply, I'd like to take your advice and thank you. Commenter 2, wait when you say traumatic. Are you talking about something the police should have been called about or something super fucked up? I don't want you to go into details that you don't want to. I just wanted to understand the rest of your story. I'm still on your side though and fuck your stupid fucking friend. I hope she gets everything she deserves. Reply, I'd say both. It was something about abuse if YK what I mean. Commenter 3, NTA what best friend thinks it's appropriate to date their best friend's ex. This is like family members dating other family members' exes. Why would you do this? There are millions of other people in the world, there are billions of other people you could have chosen from. Why did she have to choose the person she knew would hurt someone close to her the most? At this point I almost feels like it's some type of weird competition or obsession she has with you that she's dating your ex and she's been doing it for a year secretly without you knowing. The fact that they were dating for a year before she told you is also incredibly scummy. For that year every time you met and spoke with her you were thinking this is my best friend when in reality it wasn't your best friend, it was a backstabbing bitch. Reply, this is what upsets me the most. Imagine finding out that that person who you trusted the most ended up being nothing but a backstabber. It feels unreal but real at the same time. What did OOP's sister say and if she knew about the dating couple? Reply, she said that she didn't even know that they were dating. According to her, she thought that Madison's plan was to try to get us back together and that's why she also left. Basically, she didn't know anything about it. However, I told her about my convo with Madison and she was grossed out. Update 3. Hey everybody, this is just a quick update about the whole situation. To the people who commented on my last post and told me to tell my friends and close ones about my ex-best friend and her relationship with my ex, just in case she tries to spin the story, you were right. Nearly 4 days ago, she made a post on FB about me. Recently, a close friend of mine had found it and forwarded it to me. I rarely use FB and she's still blocked on everything. That's why I didn't know anything. I'll just paste what she said because if I explained it myself and put details, this'll be very long. She said, my best friend of 16 years had left me. After everything I did for her and after sacrificing my life for her, this is how she repays me. I should have seen this coming, but it caught me too much off guard. I didn't even do anything wrong. She blocked me on everything and I haven't heard from her since. Everyone don't trust anyone too much, especially those who are close to you. You don't know if whether they'll betray you or stay by your side until the end. Me, you're such a backstabbing bitch. You ruined my life forever and I'll never forgive you. This is the same woman that fucked my ex. First, she invited him to Thanksgiving dinner in hopes that we'll reconcile. Then, I found out that she has been with him for a whole year. And now this? What level of delusional is she on? No, and she even had the audacity and confidence to call me a backstabber and say that I was the one who betrayed her. The worst part is that people seem to believe her in her comments section without even knowing the full story. Most of them were her friends. I know them but they aren't my friends. The others were people I don't know. They spoke bad about me and wished that something bad will happen to me. She's playing the victim card, spreading lies while I'm here, still processing everything. I really hate that woman so much. I don't know what to do now, but I'm thinking of responding to her. I've never in my entire life made a post about someone, let alone respond to their posts. So if anyone has any advice of what do I say or do, I'm open to hear it. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, give her a taste of her own medicine. Answer to her post. But that's just petty me. Your friends know the truth, I guess. So no need to fuel her need for drama. Reply, yes, all my friends and loved ones know everything. And the reason why I'm thinking of responding to her was because I fear that her people are gonna attack me or something. Commenter 2, screenshot her post, so you have the evidence if she deletes it, and post a response on your own FB page. Tag her and everyone involved in it so it gets their attention. Disable comments on the post. Reply, actually this is a good one. I'll think about it. When did OOP break up with her ex? Reply, I left him about 5 to 6 years ago. Commenter 3, let her run her mouth but I'd be petty and reply right under it and air it all out. I'd send a mass text to all mutual friends and family, or if you don't want to go that route you can get her for harassment. Update 4. Okay, so no more talking too much. I'll just get straight to the point. Y'all, she's pregnant. Madison aka my ex-BSF, is pregnant. So basically, first, I don't know how long afar she is or when did this happen, but here's how I knew. She texted me from probably one of her friends' phone and texted me from it. This is what she said, copy-pasted from the chat, this is what you're missing on RN. My baby will unfortunately grow up without an auntie, referring to me. BC, we grew up together and treated each other like real sisters, who'll love him dearly and shower him with gifts. Not to sound rude, but I really wanted you to be a part of this journey with me, but your stubbornness and selfishness ruined it. Even though you completely shattered my heart and destroyed my confidence, I still want you in my baby's life. For now, we'll put the past behind and move on, until baby is born. Me and __, my ex, are happy to welcome you back into our lives with open arms. Love you lots. And on the bottom, there was a photo of a ultrasound. I blocked her immediately. You know something? Remember the FB post she posted about me? That message she sent up there was after I responded to her. Sorry to disappoint y'all with my response, but I thought that it was the only suitable one. I only responded with a link to my Reddit posts, like how some of y'all suggested, and threatened that if she continued spreading false lies about me, I'll make sure to sue her for defamation. What happened after? The post was gone, but the evidence is still with me. I assume that she tried to manipulate and guilt-trip me into everything she said. Not happening today or tomorrow. I know I may seem like I'm just casually typing all this like it was normal, but in reality, I'm speechless, shocked and low-key shaking. I'll try to respond to as many people as possible tonight. But after that, I'll leave this account for a few weeks. Also, to that one person who messaged me in private, thank you so much for the advice. I'm sorry to everyone that went through something like this. We deserve better. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, sorry to hear all that. Hope you have a great support system. How can she even have the thought that you would even want to be in her life after all she has done? Reply, probably because I was her friend the longest, 16 years, while the others are 1 to 5 years, not sure though. Commenter 2, NTA, you are so much better off without them. Block them and move on. Should she text you again, bluntly tell her that she is harassing you and you will take legal action if necessary. Also, are you sure she's actually pregnant? I won't put it past her to use fake ultrasound photos. Go live your best life, without them. Reply, I haven't seen her pregnant when we met before, probably because of what she was wearing, so she may actually be faking it. Commenter 3, the best revenge is to live a good life. Block both of them and put this behind you. I know it's easier said than done, but these people are not well. Don't give them any more energy. Good luck to you. New update. Long time no see. It's been a while since I've been active in here and I apologize for disappearing without saying anything. In order to make up for it, I'll be giving y'all one last update before I leave. But first, I would like to thank every single one of yours who came with me on this long journey. For me, it's been a long drama that has finally came to an end. Thank you all for the kind words, advice and support. You don't know how much it means to me. And to those who'd met me, big hugs to all of you. Finally to the update, your girl is officially engaged. I myself still can't believe it, even though it's been a while, and if you're wondering what happened to Marissa, aka Madison, I haven't heard from her since I blocked her, which is good for me IG. Ick about my ex though, and I can't care less about him. From now, I'm gonna be focusing on me, my family, my boyfriend, and our future together. Thank you all again for everything, I'm gonna miss y'all small. Much love and support to everyone, especially those who went through a similar situation. Love from Rosalie and Dean. Relevant comments. Does Madison know about OOP's engagement? Reply, I don't think so since I've blocked her on everything a long time ago and plus all my socials are set to private for now. But I'll keep an eye out for her. Commenter 1, yes. Go get your happy ending and make a beautiful life. Reply, hopefully will do. Stories number 9. How can I explain my confusion to my 28/M sibling who sent me 20/F a bill of over 2.5k for bills accumulated over the past 3 years. My 28M sibling has recently shared that he wants me, 20F, to pay him back for expenses he kept track of over the past couple years. Recently, I received an e-transfer request for over 2.5k alongside a list of expenses I need to pay back. In this list are items such as monthly internet bills, water/electricity bills, alongside other minor expenses for the house. My 28/M sibling has moved out the house 2 years ago, and had been paying these expenses and never complained. Now, having moved out for a while, my brother is requesting I need to pay him back. I'm finding difficult to justify the entire 2.5k. I am comfortable with paying back my phone bill, however the Wi-Fi and other expenses is where I am unsure. Most of the time I was out to the house while he worked from home. As such, the equal division of internet costs seems unfair to me. What hits me hard are the other expenses. Additionally, he added numerous minor expenses for things I thought were favors. For example, he kept receipts for when we ate out, for my birthday, celebrations etc. In addition to these food expenses, he also added receipts for items he bought me I had assumed were gifts. To me this seems absurd. I had assumed that these dinners that he suggested we go on and small presents he suggested were his treat, as he works a high-paying job, and has been for a while. He is the oldest sibling. He also currently lives with his partner who also makes over 6 figures. I am currently a student and work part-time, so it's hard to quickly get the 2.5k. And it's not that he is in a tight spot for money. The house he lives in belongs to his partner's parents and the two are going on vacation to Japan in a month. We've always redone favors for each other's, whether that be watch my brother's dog, or give him and his partner rides, so to me it seems so absurd to demand money now. I'm truly confused where this cold nature came from and feel betrayed as he kept every single receipt for the last 3 years, only to dump it onto me right now. It's not just me he sent these requests but also my other siblings and our parents. We were raised with the notion that family is all we have, and in no second would I hesitate to pay for my siblings' meals if they need it, or help them in a monetary fashion, if I can. However, my brother does not appear to think so. Our parents are also not happy with these sudden bills sent their way, and we find it hard to understand this immediate demand to pay him back for anything he has done for us. I can definitely pay him for the bills, as unfair as the distribution seems, but the other expenses just seems like petty behavior. Comments. Commenter. The fact that he sent everyone a bill sounds like he's been planning on cutting everyone off for a while. Reply. That's what feels scary, we've been such a tight-knit family, or so I thought. Now with the upcoming family gathering, and both his and his girlfriend's lack of interest in pitching into our siblings' college grad gift, I'm starting to think he's trying to split in some way. Stories number 10. I, 20M, went to sleep before my girl, 23F, could make dinner. I work 8:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. It takes me about an hour to commute, and by virtue of my work I need to get there at least 30 minutes prior to opening. I'll usually get home around 10:30 to 11 p.m., wake up around 4:30-6 and leave the house 5:30 to 6:30 a.m. depending on traffic. Last night I got home, showered, and sat with my girl while she opened Pokemon cards for 40 minutes. She waited for me to get home to open them. After she was finished she offered to make pizza. Keep in mind it's already 12 a.m. at this point. My girlfriend is a sweetheart but bless her heart she's not quick nor is she efficient. It would have taken at least another hour and a half before we'd be able to eat, so I made myself a sandwich instead, and went to bed. She got really upset with me, and now I'm wondering if I'm in the wrong. The way I figured, she knew what time I would be coming home and when I'd need to go to sleep. If she wanted us to have dinner together, she should have had said dinner ready instead of expecting me to only get 4 hours of sleep. She offered to let me sleep and wake me up when the pizza was ready, but the last thing I needed after walking 20 miles the day prior was someone to wake me up at 1 a.m. Edit. Sorry, so I saw a few guys get mad at my employer. I'm gonna give a quick blurb. Sorry if I don't explain anything. I'm hiding in the bathroom. I am very grateful to have a job. I am incredibly fortunate that my body can take it, and that I have the opportunity to work. This is not a privilege I take lightly. It's only 44 hours a week. It's spread across 4 days. I'm home 3 days a week, and we both have Saturdays off, so we do spend time together. I'm usually the one in charge of cooking, cleaning, and groceries, so it makes sense that she's fumbling a little bit. I'm $20,000 in debt, and previous to this I hadn't been employed since January due to the school year and some health problems. I'm so sorry for everyone's questions I missed. I'll check in when I have some time. Stories number 11. I think my relationship is about to end. I'm a 22M that's a trailer technician that recently got a raise making $31 an hour. My 22 years old girlfriend that's selling jewelry at markets has recently moved into an apartment back in March of this year. She wanted me to get an apartment with her, but I wasn't ready financially. I also had personally financial goals for myself like pay of my car, establish a stable emergency fund, and overall not have just enough to get the apartment. I've communicated to my girlfriend about my plans, and she proceeds to counter the discussion with, I have goals too, or I have more bills than you. So she proceeds to cry and says, I don't know how you're okay with us not sleeping together at night. Even though before she got the apartment so told me that I wasn't going to spend the night over and not pay any bills there, even though I didn't intend on doing so. She keeps bringing up the fact I didn't want to move in because her business income wasn't stable. I wasn't trying to belittle her business, but she buys her jewelry from SHN and resells them at markets in different cities. She has been running the business for about 8 months. Personally, I didn't want the possibility of if she can't pay her portion to fall on me because I wasn't ready financially. I explained that to her and she feels like I don't want to be with her all because I chose to stay home with my parents, instead of living with her in order to place myself in the best position possible. Comments. Commenter 1. She's asking for shared dreams while you're still building your foundation. Love can't thrive where survival is still the priority. Hold your line with compassion, because sacrificing your stability now might cost you both everything later. Commenter 2. Love can't thrive where survival is still the priority. Where did you get this? Summed up my relationship in my 20s perfectly. Commenter 3. I heard it, when the bills walk in the door, love goes out the window. Stories number 12. The library wasn't ready for Roxy's 18th birthday. Roxy turns 18, she's my ESA, my shadow, and she deserves to vote. How do I celebrate her properly? Hi. I have an absolute sweetheart of a cat named Roxy. She is my heart cat, my ESA, the apple of my eye. I raised her from a tiny kitten, and she's turning 18 years old next week. As I can't have biological children, I feel even more strongly about celebrating this milestone in a fun, memorable way. Here's my idea. I want to load Roxy into her comfy, see-through cat backpack and take her to our local library. Once there, I'd walk up to the librarian and ask for a voter registration form, saying, my 18-year-old's birthday is today. Then I'd slowly turn to reveal Roxy blinking lazily in the carrier. I'd follow up with, she's mostly interested in registering for jury duty, she loves judging her peers. But of course, she's registering as an independent. No one can sway her. And then I'd flee laughing, registration form in hand. Important note, Roxy would never leave the carrier, and I'd make sure she's safe and comfortable. She's not a nervous cat, and she enjoys being part of low-key outings like this, especially if they have a slightly adventurous spirit. That said, I'm a rule follower at heart and don't want to get banned from the library if the staff doesn't have a sense of humor or if this crosses a line. So, is this idea too much? Would you try it? Any alternative ideas for celebrating an 18th cat birthday in a fun but respectful way? Thanks in advance from me and my soon-to-be 18-year-old. She loves you all, but she also slightly judges your choice in shoe wear. The attached photo is her forsaking all heated beds to opt for a comfortable foot pillow instead. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, she's beautiful. 18 is amazing. I'm sure she will love anything you do to celebrate her. Treats, attention, snuggles. It does sound like she'd enjoy an adventure away from home where she could make friends and gain admirers. You could put a birthday girl sign on her carrier. I don't see why you'd be banned for your plan unless they have a super strict no animals policy. I actually have no idea what the rules are for animals in carriers, but being banned seems extreme. As an aside, I'm pretty sure she'd judge me for more than just my footwear. Whatever you decide, I hope she has a wonderful birthday. Reply, oh my goodness, a sign. That is such a great idea. If this goes down, a sign is definitely happening. Thank you for the suggestion. And thanks, too, for the warm words and well wishes. Commenter 2, just keep enjoying time together. Those memories you create will warm your heart in years to come. And for now just shower her with attention and love. Update post. I chose a nearby library, just a 12-minute drive, located on a road well known for odd local shenanigans. The kind of place where, if something strange happened and you heard it took place there, you'd simply say, well, of course it happened on that road. I figured the librarians were used to unusual happenings. I loaded Roxy into her clear backpack carrier and drove her over. Spirits were high. She seemed excited for the outing. Once we arrived, I put on the backpack and walked to the entrance. Next to the door was a large sign, quite direct, stating that pets were not allowed. My nerve wobbled a little. But I'd come this far, and nothing ventured, nothing gained, so I walked inside. A quiet, middle-aged man was behind the front desk. 2 other men stood nearby, whether they were patrons or staff, I couldn't say. The librarian gave me a polite smile and asked how he could help. Yes, today is my 18-year-old's birthday, and I'd like a voter registration form, please, I said, trying to sound completely normal. To my surprise, he found the form immediately. I hadn't expected such readiness in a non-election year. He handed it over and looked at me, waiting. I thanked him, folded the form along the perforation, and said, she's mostly interested in jury duty. She's very passionate about judging her peers. Oh, he said with a nod and an indulgent smile, I brought her with me today. Would you like to meet her? This was the moment I realized I was drifting into crazy town. He blinked, just a flicker of confusion, but nodded again. The smile stayed fixed on his face. I turned slowly, watching his expression as I did. He looked at my backpack. His eyes widened. The other 2 men turned to look, then physically recoiled. I could see the doubt in his face, so I leaned forward slightly and said, today is her 18th birthday. I just wanted to be able to say that I took her to get a voter registration form. Thank you for letting me have this memory. His posture softened. He smiled more genuinely. Ah. You're welcome. Right then, a frazzled woman burst in through the front door, announcing that a crazed man was in the parking lot yelling obscenities and needed to be dealt with. I took that as my cue to make a quick exit, form in hand. Once I got Roxy back into the car, I snapped the photo you see above. I told her, well, Roxy, your mama may be awkward, but she makes good memories. She said nothing, which I took as agreement. Later, I took the second photo of her at home. She's sitting at the table, staring at her form like she's weighing the seriousness of her newly acquired civic duty. She's not just a cat. She's my confidant, my comfort, my constant. And today, on her milestone birthday, I gave her something that mattered to me, a memory we now share. Was it awkward? Absolutely. Did it matter? More than I can say. I'll never forget today, as long as I live. Happy 18th birthday, my darling Roxy. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, think this will be up there for one of the sweetest things I've read lately. I think of our cats as members of the family who happen to have 4 legs instead of the standard 2. Happy birthday, Roxy. Commenter 2, I would have loved to see this. Happy birthday, Roxy. Reply, you're in good company. I happened to see my vet today briefly to pick up Roxy's meds. He fist pumped when I told him the plan for the library and asked if I could wear a GoPro. Commenter 3, best mom ever. Reply, you have no idea how much this made me smile. Commenter 4, have her register for the selective service. Reply, Roxy would absolutely be a national asset in a time of war. Lethal hunting instincts, unshakable calm under pressure, and a keen eye for discernment. The only risk is her sharp opinions on footwear, it could tank unit cohesion. And possibly her penchant for napping. Commenter 5, this was so funny and sweet. Thank you for sharing this with us, and happy birthday to responsible voting citizen Roxy. Please give her pets from me. Stories number 13. Aita for having my husband add me to his Costco account and take his ex-wife off. My husband and I have been married almost a year, together a little over 2 years. His ex-wife, who we are friends with, they have adult kids together, had remained on his Costco account, which is fine. Until recently I was still on my ex's Costco account too, but I was taken off without being informed, had a whole cart full and they wouldn't let me check out due to being removed off the account, so I had to just leave it all there. So yesterday we had some time and I wanted to go to Costco to finally get on my husband's account because it's annoying never being able to go on my own. My husband called his ex to let her know that the only way to add me would be to remove her. She didn't answer the phone, so he called her boyfriend, who we are also friends with, and he said go for it, no big deal, we hardly ever shop there. So I got added on. On the way home his ex-wife returned his call and got incredibly upset, saying she shops at Costco all the time, this is super messed up of him, and he shouldn't have just went and added me just because I wanted him to. She was also saying that by shopping there, they contributed to the rebate check my husband gets. Last year it was only like $100 and we bought dollar worth of new flooring plus our regular purchases. The way I see it is she's been using a free Costco membership for like a decade plus. We didn't just kick her off without telling her so she'd be stuck at checkout with a cart full of stuff the way I was. She says we didn't handle the situation well and should have informed her a month in advance. My husband then offered to pay for a year's membership for her. She agreed but was still mad. So were we wrong? Comments. Commenter 1, NTA. But frankly neither of you should have been on an ex's membership. That's one of those things that ends along with the relationship itself. Weird that it wasn't until now. Reply, I can see where you're coming from. We both have kids with our exes, so my ex basically kept me on until he got a new partner to add, which is fine, the only thing that bothered me was not getting a heads up and being stuck at checkout, and my ex just let her stay on there, which is also fine but I just feel like her reaction was extreme given the fact that she's had access to a free membership all this time and her comment about it being wrong that he just added me, because I wanted him to, like I did it to be rude somehow. I also don't think we should be obligated to buy her a membership, but $65 is whatever I guess if it means it will keep the peace. Up until now we haven't had any issues with animosity. Commenter 2, how were you able to get into the store without an active membership? Reply, I have no idea. I scanned the card at the door and the thing turned green and it let me in. Stories number 14. Aita for telling my stepmother I didn't agree to be her summer babysitter. I, 17M, live with my grandparents because when my stepmother and step-siblings moved in with my dad last year, there weren't enough bedrooms for me to still have my own room and her kids are way younger than me so I didn't want to share with her boys. My decision to move out didn't make them happy but I really don't care. My dad and I argued over them moving in and dad made it clear he wanted her there because he was ready to marry her and that I didn't get a say since I wasn't paying the mortgage or bills. He also said he'd been widowed for 6 years and it was time for him to be happy again for real. Dad and I fought about my moving out but he gave in because I told him I would be miserable and did not care if that made everyone else miserable too. I told him he should try to have his room invaded by little kids. My relationship with dad suffered as a result but I can live with that. This is better than sharing the room. My relationship with his wife and her kids doesn't exist really and I know that pisses her off but she was his choice, not mine. She can think what she likes. Now we have a whole other issue because she wanted me to babysit her kids over summer break so she didn't need to pay for camps or summer care. The kids don't have a dad in their lives so she's got to figure it out for the whole summer. When she told me to babysit this summer I said no. That was in April. She figured she could convince me but she didn't. Summer break came and she's had to pay for more than a week of childcare already. My dad mostly stayed out of it but he told me he was upset that I wouldn't help some of the days. He said it would be a great time to bond with the kids and get to know them and for them to get to know me. He offered to buy me a few things as a form of payment but I refused it. He told me he was disappointed in my choices about blending our families and he felt like I was doing this because I can't let go of mom and don't want to embrace the new chapter of our family. I told him that's nothing to do with it but I'm not wasting my summer babysitting. He brought up my refusal to live with them and I told him if we had more space I'd still live there. Then I said maybe not since the babysitting expectation would be worse. My stepmother called me again and she was going crazy about my stubbornness and claiming it was part of the deal. I told her I never agreed to be her summer babysitter and I made no deals with her or her kids. It pissed her off more. And it brought out dad saying I was being rude for no good reason. Comments. Commenter 1, Nta. Stand your ground, not your kids, not your problem. And enjoy your summer. Commenter 2, literally like imagine birthing 0 kids but still getting voluntold to raise someone else's just BC you share a bloodline with the guy who knocked her up emotionally hope her camp bills are spicy AF this summer TBH. Commenter 3, voluntolds are an automatic no from me every time. It's her circus, those are her monkeys and she needs to figure it out. Stories number 15. Aita for keeping the bridesmaid dress and wearing it after I got kicked out of the wedding. So I, 26F, was supposed to be a bridesmaid for my friends, 27F, wedding we used to be close in college but haven't really talked that much since then. I honestly was kinda surprised she even asked me. Planning was a disaster. She was micromanaging every single thing and kept acting like we were all just accessories in her aesthetic. She wanted us to have identical nails and lashes, and like I get wanting a vibe, but I said in the group chat I wasn't doing long fake nails since I work in healthcare, and she got mad and made some comment like, then maybe you're not a fit for the bridal party. So I said, maybe I'm not. And I guess that was that. Few days later she texted me saying she was taking me out of the wedding party but I could still come as a guest, which TBH felt kinda humiliating, especially after I already bought the dress, shoes and paid for alterations. Over $350. I asked if I could still wear the dress to the wedding since it's not like I can return it, and she said absolutely not. She doesn't want anyone wearing that dress unless they're in the photos and didn't want reminders of negativity at her wedding. So I didn't go. But yeah, 2 days later I wore the dress to brunch and posted pics and tagged the store. It was definitely the same dress and same color scheme she used for the wedding, so our mutuals realized it and I guess it got back to her. She sent this whole thing about how I was being disrespectful and intentionally trying to ruin her vibe, and I was like, it's a dress I paid for and it looks good. Some friends say I had every right, others say I clearly posted it to stir the pot, which I didn't. The dress was expensive and the brunch was very formal and I needed a dress and I had it, so I wore it. Update: I just want to clarify a few things. I do have other dresses I could have worn to the brunch but none fit that theme. Person who hosted wanted light colors. All my other dresses are dark green, red, black, some just white. I only had the light blue dress that was bought for the wedding. I originally didn't even plan on going to the brunch but decided last minute since my girlfriend wanted to go and wanted me with her. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA: if she was that concerned about you wearing the dress elsewhere then she could have given you the money and bought it back from you. It's your dress and you can do what you want with it. She's desperate to cause drama, don't let her take up any more of your energy. Reply. NTA: I think that it is terrific that you were able to wear it. Go you. Commenter 2. NTA: she had a very simple remedy. If she wanted to keep your dress from being used other than as her bridesmaid, she could have bought it back from you. Stories number 16. Aita for siding with our son after he screamed at my wife. Just created this account because the whole situation feels ridiculous and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. We're about to leave for a trip to visit family across the country. Yesterday our 8-year-old son Jake got into a huge argument with my wife and she's still acting cold toward both of us today. For some quick context, Jake is mildly autistic. He struggles with emotions sometimes but is otherwise a pretty normal kid. Loves sports, loves video games and wants nothing to do with anything he sees as girly, which is pretty typical for his age. I was playing video games with him while my wife was packing the last of her stuff. She called him into the bedroom. Maybe 10 seconds later, I hear him yelling, "Are you serious? Who the hell do you think you are? Get that stupid thing away from me." I went in thinking I was about to walk into him getting grounded, but instead I see my wife trying to force a pink, sparkly shirt on him. It had some celebrity on it and was clearly meant for a girl. I asked what was going on, and she said his cousin Jennifer, who we're about to see, is about his height, and she wanted to see if the shirt would fit before packing it. Jake, while on the verge of crying, yelled, "I don't care, figure it out yourself, I hate you," and ran out. I told my wife she should have known better. It was obvious forcing him to try that on would upset him. She got frustrated and said it's just a shirt and that trying it on was the least he could do after everything we do for him, like therapy, appointments, activities, etc. That completely threw me. We're his parents. He doesn't owe us for basic parenting. This really raised my eyebrows because I've never heard her talk like that before. She went on to say that he's been getting more difficult lately, which, to be fair, isn't completely wrong, and that he should be punished for acting like a little jerk. I told her absolutely not. We're about to visit his cousins and I'm not punishing him right before vacation because he didn't want to wear a shirt made for girls. I said we can bring it up in therapy after the trip. She argued that he screamed at her and I said, yeah, no shit, he screamed at you. You tried to make him try on girls' clothes. I'd yell at my mom if she tried to pull that on me. She stayed cold to both of us all night and refused to make dinner. I ended up ordering a pizza, which she took as me rewarding him for throwing a tantrum, since like most kids his age it's his favorite food. Never mind the fact that ordering takeout the night before traveling is just the smart thing to do so you don't have to deal with dishes. That was yesterday, and she's still acting cold toward both of us this morning. And to make it better, my sister-in-law always automatically takes my wife's side anytime we disagree, so I'm fully expecting her unsolicited opinion as soon as we get there. Comments. Commenter 1. Honestly? ESH a bit. Who the hell do you think you are? That is not an okay way for an 8-year-old to be handling themselves. Your wife was totally out of line, but you can and still should have a discussion with your son about how it's okay to stand up for yourself, but there are better ways than to scream at your mom. I'm not pearl clutching over the word hell or anything, but if this is how an 8-year-old is talking, you guys should really consider how you talk to each other and where he's getting this from. Commenter 2. Why is it people expect better behavior from a child than an adult? An emotional outburst with inappropriate language is a child learning. Talking is needed, not punishment. Teach him how to respond, and how to set boundaries. His mother calling him a jerk is a problem. She should have better control over her emotional outbursts, and know what that could do to a child if they're overheard. It should always for a child to say no, when the question includes their body and it's not a matter of health or safety. That's how we teach consent. The child says no, the adult says why, a conversation is had and no one needs to lose their temper. Maybe the kiddo is having more problems because there's less explanations and reasons and more my way or the highway chatter. No one will die if the child doesn't try on a shirt. The worst case scenario is it doesn't fit the intended recipient. This shouldn't have been that deep. Your wife needs to learn to pick their battles and stop taking such insignificant consent-based choices so personally. It sure should be a therapy discussion, why your wife had such a strong reaction to a child being emotionally immature at 8. Commenter 3. One of my issues here is that if anyone asked me to try a boy's t-shirt when I was a kid, I would have done that and would not see any issues with that, and I'm pretty sure most girls wouldn't either. Now, boys on the other hand are always throwing the worst tantrums by having to do anything girly. Look at what this boy did, is just a t-shirt, but he already sees girly things as bad. They need to fix this shit before he grows up to a Andrew Tate's fan. Stories number 17. Aita for getting a belly piercing without discussing it with my boyfriend beforehand. I got a piercing without my boyfriend knowing beforehand. I was on a girls' trip recently and there was a piercing store offering piercings for a good deal, so a couple friends and I got matching belly piercings. I've been wanting to get a belly piercing for a couple years now, so I decided to take a leap with my friends. I didn't inform my boyfriend beforehand since I didn't think it would be a big deal cause it's a small piercing, but when I told him about it after he called me impulsive and made me feel really bad about it, said he would have tried convincing me out of it as well. I apologized for not taking his opinion into consideration and explained my thought process. But he's been accusing me of wanting to keep this belly piercing a secret from him, even though I've told him I've been meaning to get one for years and excitedly showed it to him right after since I was super happy about it. The way he's wording everything just feels a bit controlling. I'm not sure if it's that big of a deal that I got a piercing without letting him know beforehand, since I feel like he's blowing the situation out of proportion. TLDR, am I the asshole for not telling him beforehand, and is it such a big deal since it's just a piercing? Comments. Commenter 1. Hey. I might be called radical for this, but please don't ever let a man tell you what to do with your body. No matter who it is and no matter what it is about. Commenter 2. This absolutely. I'm an old granddad and 100% agree. No man gets to tell you what you can do with your body. If your boyfriend was my grandson, he would be getting a piece of my mind and his ears would be hurting. And by the way, I personally didn't like my daughter's piercings, as adults like you, but I sure as heck do not tell them how to decorate their bodies. Tattoos too. Stand up straight and be yourself. Stories number 18. Aita for calling my wife a slob and demanding she clean before I come home. I, 30M, just came back from a nearly 6-month deployment. I've been married to my wife, 29F, for 2 years. This is the longest deployment I've had since we've lived together. No kids, but we do have a few pets. I bought the house we live in before we got married, and before I left, it was clean and in great condition. When I walked through the door, it was like stepping into one of those hoarder show houses. I wish I was kidding. This is not an exaggeration. In fact, it's probably not descriptive enough. The master bathroom had black mold on the walls. The sink and shower were caked with soap scum, hair everywhere, trash covering the floor. We're talking used tissues, used pads, makeup packaging, all just strewn round. The toilet, I won't even describe the toilet. The bedroom had waist-high piles of clothes, papers, and God knows what lining 2 walls. The carpet was completely covered in pet hair. I saw little moths flying around that looked like the kind that eat fabric and hair. The living room wasn't dirty as much as it was piled with clutter, unopened shopping bags, decorations from last Halloween and Christmas still out, tons of random stuff she clearly bought but never put away. And the kitchen, the smell hit me before I even walked in. Both sinks were full of dirty dishes with some kind of black sludge coating the bottom. The fridge was packed, but mostly with expired and rotting food. There were 2 casserole dishes filled with what I can only describe as pure mold. Based on what I found, the food in those dishes had been sitting there since before I left in January. I completely lost it. I yelled. A lot. I called her names, because honestly, what kind of person lets things get this bad? It felt like coming home to a house abandoned by squatters. I told her she had 1 week to clean the entire house and return it to the condition it was in before I deployed, or I'd be filing for divorce. Then I left. I'm staying with a friend. This guy is not easy to live with. He's loud, way too talkative, and messy in his own way, but even his place is paradise compared to what I walked into. My wife cried and begged me to stay. She said I was being unfair, and that I just left her here to deal with everything. But I don't understand. What everything? We have no kids. She works a normal job and comes home. That's it. No night shifts, number 80-hour weeks, no caretaking responsibilities. What else was there for her to deal with? What could possibly be taking up so much of her time and energy that basic tasks like throwing away used tissues, washing dishes, or taking out the trash couldn't be done? She told me I needed to help her because it was our mess, but I've been gone for over 5 months. She claims that I didn't understand how hard it was for her while I was gone. I didn't make any of that mess. I've been deployed and working my ass off, and the house I paid for was trashed while I was away. Is there something I really don't understand here? Stories number 19. My 29M wife, 28F, has us in financial ruin. I have nobody that I can really talk to about this. If my wife found out I told a family member or a friend, she would feel completely betrayed. I'm a very keep people happy type person, so I would hate to make her feel that way. Luckily I have an alt Reddit account that I can use to talk to strangers on the internet. So thank you for being here. My wife and I got married in 2021. We took our honeymoon to Disney World. My parents happily supported this and bought the tickets and resort stay for us for our wedding gift. This was fine and dandy, until my wife got to the parks and wanted to, basically buy everything. Fast forward a week to after the honeymoon, we ended up with about $5,000 in credit card debt. This would include Airbnb stays that helped us make the car ride to and back from Florida, Disney merch, food, and gas. We were slowly cutting it down until her dad called and asked for help to pay for her brother's car repair, which would be another $11,000. She brought up the idea of taking out a $17,000 loan to help her family and pay off our debt for a smaller interest rate. Smart idea. I was totally on board. Fast forward to last year, 2024. She comes to me and says she doesn't know what to do. She's almost $20,000 in credit card debt due to random purchases she had made out of depression. She told me that she would change and never get us into that kind of debt again. So, as peeved as I was, I agreed. I took out a $22,000 loan and sent it straight to her to pay off her credit cards. I didn't tell her this, but I told myself if this happens again, I will divorce her. Fast forward to today. She told me that she had to pay her minimum payments on credit card debt. I was fine with that. She was taking her own debt into her own hands and I figured it wasn't that bad. Then she said, unless you have an extra $7,700 to pay off her my card. I laughed it off cause we are with her family this weekend, but I really don't know what to say. None of my paychecks each month gets put into savings. I basically send my paycheck to bills and loan repayment. I even have my own CC debt to pay off because she and her family want to do so much things and I'm basically forced to put it on my CC. What is your advice to me if you were in my shoes? Stories number 20. My husband, 25M, and I, 23F, are having a baby. Is me asking for more than a week too much? I, 23F, am 15 weeks along. My husband and I have just started talking about all of the appointment schedules going on until the end of the year, baby due in November. We found out I would not be getting paid maternity leave, but he would be getting paid paternity leave for up to 4 weeks. I've already started saving up for when I will be out of work for 3 weeks after the baby. I work from home, and I didn't really think it would be a problem for him to help me out for 3 weeks while I healed, and then let me readjust for a week while I try to transition back to work. His response was that he would be happy to take a week off, but if he needed to he could take 2. His reason was that 2 weeks was $2,000 that he would already be missing out on and didn't feel comfortable losing anymore. A few key details before I get into the juicy part. We've been together for 5 years, just got married May 4th. Yes, we had issues before the baby, and no, the baby was not planned. I have pre-existing health issues, on top of being diagnosed with hyperemesis gravidarum that have sent me to the ER 4 times already. He does new construction plumbing, so he's paid per project, but if he were to be working at the shop on a rainy day / low inventory then he makes $15 an hour, which he would be getting paid during leave. We already have 3 ginormous dogs that I take care of 80% of the time on top of all vet visits / grooming. I feel that these are important tidbits so that you can better understand where I'm coming from. All I could do in response was sit there and cry. It hit me that I would honestly be doing this alone. I had already come to terms that once he went back to work, I wouldn't get much help from him since he does work a job that is manual labor, and he already is exhausted without having a baby around. I told him that at this point, I'd rather him just take the day off for the birth and I'd handle the rest. I explained that a week was hardly anything, and if I was expected to be okay with just that, then I'd rather take nothing. I've already been looking around in care.com and Rover to find someone to help with the baby and the dogs. I don't have anyone else but him, since both of our parents work and we don't have any other family near us. I now feel selfish because he got upset by what I said and he said, the baby isn't even here yet, and I already feel like a deadbeat. I can't find anything online that says what's if a week is enough or not, and now I feel horrible because I can't get past the emotional part of this situation. Someone tell me I'm wrong or something because I don't really know what to think anymore. Edit. A few things I feel like I need to point out since some of you are a bit on the cranky side. Yes, we use protection, hence, surprise baby. I live in FL, maternity leave is not mandatory for employers. I could have done FMLA, but because I don't use my employer's insurance, it's not offered to me nor have I paid into it to use it. My main reason for this post was to get a viewpoint of all sides on this matter. It's our first child and we had already discussed of children later on in life. I never planned to get pregnant. I promise the baby and I are being monitored by my OB and my cardiologist. Update. Some of you got but heard about the word vajaja and it makes me laugh out loud. Nonetheless, I hope you have a lifetime of cold pillows. I got a lot of questions about having an abortion and truthfully it's not for me. I have nothing against abortions, I had already grown an attachment to my baby. I showed my husband the post and comments, it was all truly eye-opening for us both. We had some really hard conversations and some of the most groundbreaking talks. We both ended up in therapy and in couples therapy. We still have a long way to go, but I feel like I'm living in a dream now. My job ended up paying for 6 weeks of maternity leave. My husband took 2 weeks off and his job gave him a baby bonus, on top of the end-of-year bonus. They were absolutely incredible during the journey. My pregnancy was absolutely horrible. My morning sickness sent me to the hospital 7 times, I had 2 IVs weekly, anemia, and PUPPS, in the middle of summer. I ended up on bed rest in October and I had her in November. She had a few complications that we faced and we ended up at a high-risk doctor, but the stars aligned and all of her issues were resolved by the time she was born. I labored for 36 hours and ended up having a C-section due to her heart rate dropping. Out of everything, that was the moment I was terrified. My C-section was absolutely traumatizing. I remember there were doctors everywhere, asking me questions and asking me if I was feeling anything. Every few minutes after they had given me numbing through my epidural, I kept getting my feeling back. It was horrible feeling them cut and pulling and the burning pain. I swear, as soon as they pulled her out and she started screaming, it was the most peaceful I'd ever felt. The first 2 weeks with her was everything I had hoped and dreamed. My husband was incredible and took care of everything. I had never felt so loved in my entire life. He helped me do everything and was amazing at night watch. We are now officially 7 months in and I swear life couldn't be better. I still work from home and she's with me while I work. She's incredibly smart and we have a great routine together. She has 4 teeth, she's standing on her own and crawling. We are so close to saying mama. I never knew I could love someone as much as I do her, and I'm grateful that she's mine. I think regardless, I'd still have made the same decision to keep her. I know it would have been harder and a lot scarier. I've hated my life for as long as I can remember for one reason or another, but now I feel like I have an actual purpose and she came at the most perfect time. I realize that not all stories are the same and I hope that I don't seem insensitive, but I figured an update is an update, good or bad. If you ended up reading this, which I doubt anyone will, thank you for the time. It means the world to me. Stories number 21. AITA for asking my old coworkers to stop messaging me. TLDR, former coworkers kept messaging me after I left. I told them nicely to stop during work hours. They understood and apologized. I offered to help part-time before, but that was rejected. In hindsight, thinking about going to HR was a stress reaction. I was overwhelmed at the time. I messaged the ex-coworkers and explained that while I was happy to help here and there, even on weekends, the frequent pings during my new job were too much, especially since I'm no longer paid by the company. I also mentioned I had offered to stay on part-time, but that was rejected. They acknowledged it might have been too much and said the same person still handles the project, so no option for part-time. They were nice and wished me well. Looking back, I probably overreacted with the whole, I'll go to HR, thought. I was just stressed and caught off guard while handling something important at work and my phone kept buzzing. Thanks for the input, it helped. Hi everyone. I'm in a bit of a weird situation and could use your input. A few weeks ago, I left my previous job where I worked in a technical role, coding. Before leaving, I was transparent with my team and even offered to stay on part-time, 4 hours per day, for a while to help with the transition and provide ongoing support. I thought that was fair, considering I had been managing some complex stuff alone. However, the company declined the offer. They didn't seem interested in any kind of part-time or consulting arrangement, so I moved on. Now, I've started a new full-time job. But ever since I left, I've been getting messages from former coworkers every couple of days, asking where things are, how certain parts of the code work, or how to troubleshoot stuff I used to manage. It's during my work hours, and it's really disruptive and mentally draining, especially when I'm trying to focus on a new role. I've tried to be polite and answer a couple of things at first, thinking it would be short-term. But it's becoming regular and exhausting, and honestly, I don't think it's my responsibility anymore, especially since I offered a structured way to help and they said no. I'm now thinking of writing to HR at my old company and asking them to tell the team to stop contacting me with work-related questions unless they want to arrange formal consulting. But I worry that I might come off as petty or difficult for setting that boundary. So, AITA for wanting to shut this down and go through HR. Stories number 22. AITA for refusing to let my friend crash at my place after he roasted my apartment in front of everyone. I, 26M, have a small one-bedroom apartment. It's not fancy, but it's clean, it's mine, and I worked my ass off to afford it. Like, IKEA everything, but I got a gaming setup I love and a little fake plant that's absolutely thriving. Last weekend, I had a few friends over for pizza and chill. Nothing wild. My friend Kyle, 27M, who's been kinda couch surfing lately, shows up and immediately starts roasting my place. Like he walks in and goes, "Damn, bro, is this a studio or a jail cell?" Everyone laughs. I brush it off. Then he goes, "Yo, where's your dining table? You just eat off your lap like a raccoon." Again, laughs. I joke back like, "Better than eating off someone else's couch, man," and everyone laughs again. But he doesn't stop. He jokes about my sad little gamer chair, my bare fridge, and even says my bathroom looks like it's been through something traumatic. It was funny for like 5 seconds. Then it got annoying. Then it got rude. Fast forward to this week, he texts me saying he got kicked from the place he was staying and asks if he can crash on my couch for a few nights. I literally responded, "I thought my apartment was too sad for you, man." Now he's calling me petty. A few mutuals said I should have let it slide because he's going through a lot. I feel for him, but like, why would I let someone stay in a place they just spent an hour clowning? So yeah, AITA for not letting my buddy crash at my place after he roasted it in front of everyone. TLDR, friend made fun of my apartment all night during a hangout. A few days later he asks if he can crash on my couch. I said no. Now he says I'm being petty. Stories number 23. AITA for basically going NC with my daughter after she betrayed me. Edit. I just want to clarify a few things. I apologize for saying she masterminded the affair along with my wife, but I forgot to mention this. It was my daughter's idea for her mother to hide her affair on her old phone, and secondly, some people in the comments claimed that I was verbally abusive towards my daughter, but that isn't true. I was hurling insults towards my wife for lying to me, her parents, my parents and her friends that she cut contact with her coworker, but she hasn't. She still spoke to him. I was feeling guilty for cheating on her as a type of get back. I was advised to stop, so I did, but I feel no regret now. Also, I need to clarify that my daughter is 18 years old, not other random ages. I have also spoken to her and I told her I was wrong for saying that I will kick her out and saying she meant nothing to me, but I will need time to heal, but also she is not at fault but her mother is. For some background, I uploaded a more in-depth post on my page about what occurred, but basically my wife cheated on me with a coworker and she begged for my forgiveness, so I accepted, but I've been secretly cheating on her as a type of revenge closure that ended up becoming an addiction. I know I'm an idiot, but on to title. I will keep as short as possible, but basically a couple days ago, my daughter just out of the blue confessed about her mother cheating on me as she couldn't handle the guilt. She told me for the past 5 years, she has been aiding her mother in cheating on me in exchange for gifts. She also confessed that she knew that my wife has been in affairs with 6 guys and was currently in contact with her coworker, and that her old phone her mother bought her was the device my wife used to cheat on me, and she was the one who was supposed to hide it away from me and delete conversation. She also purposely hid the phone beneath my wife's pillow so I would discover the affair. At this moment I snapped. I realized it was her along who put the phone under my pillow and unlocked the passcode. She was the one who helped hide the infidelity, and I was destroyed. I worsened this hole by repeating my wife's actions, and now I realize my daughter betrayed and masterminded the affair along with my wife. I may have snapped at my daughter, but I told her I knew about the affair this whole time, and I thought her mother changed after she begged and told me she cut contact with her co-worker, but that was a lie as well, and I told her you mean nothing to me and a bunch of other stuff about her mother which I may regret, but it was the best of the moment. Then I went to my car and had a long drive. My son called me and asked me what happened, and I explained what his mother and sister did to me for 5 years. He broke down. I told him I will look for an apartment for my wife and his sister, as there is no way in hell I will give up my house. My wife and daughter have blown up my phone begging for a chance, but screw that anyway. Would I be the AH for basically going NC with my daughter for the rest of my life or not? I know she was being manipulated by her mother, but as she got older she could have realized what her mother was doing was wrong, and I know she hid the phone under my pillow, but I Was an idiot and I should have divorced her, but I was too reluctant on paying child support as they are couple years away from turning 18, but I won't commit the same mistake. I will divorce her anyways. I apologies for my rant. Aita for leaving my son and daughter because I can't handle the fact they aren't mine. I will keep this as short as possible, but I'm leaving my son and daughter as I discovered my wife had an affair with my brother and both my children aren't mine. I was very suicidal after finding out the truth and I was close, but I was too scared at the same time and I didn't want my wife to win. My son and daughter deserve a good life, so I put the house ownership into my daughter's name so she owns it. I only own the house, not my wife, and I gave my car to my son so when he passes his license, he can drive it, and a portfolio for him to access when he's 21, and I'm going back to my home country to live near my family and start all over. I admit I may be an asshole for this, but no therapy can help me see that they are mine, but I hope they understand my point of view and hopefully have their future secured. I wrote letters to both of them as I'm too much of a coward to face them, stating that I'm leaving the country, but I will visit from time to time and I hope they understand that their future is secured and I will always cherish the memories I had with them. Edit. I just want to clarify some things. I don't know the condition of my wife. She overdosed on paracetamol and her lungs were already messed up from her drinking problems. When I saw her in my house, she looked lifeless. Secondly, people asked what happened to my brother. I simply told my entire family that he was a cheater and my whole family abandoned him. I also told my wife's parents, who she confessed a previous affair, and they practically disowned her too. Her sister and her husband have been very supportive and I will admit I will miss them too and their baby, but I must move on. Finally, my children won't be alone. I gave up my master bedroom to my children, aunt, uncle, no, not my brother, and baby cousin. The kids have always had a good relationship and they deserve a good life, not worrying about bills, etc. I left them a good check since they were very supportive throughout all of this, and their baby also deserves a good life, who I will dearly miss. Update, Aita for leaving my son and daughter because I can't handle the fact they aren't mine. For anyone who cares, I will try to keep this as short as possible, but first of all I want to clarify a few things. Firstly, I'm not entirely a good person. I'm a good, kind father to my children, in their eyes, but I'm not. I confessed in a post that when I originally found out my soon-to-be ex-wife had an affair, I was an idiot. Instead of divorcing her, I repeated her actions and I cheated on her multiple times without her knowing. My excuse was because I didn't want to pay child support, but it was just a stupid excuse. However, I never stooped to the level of my wife to manipulate my daughter into assisting her affairs. I confessed to my children that I was no saint comparing to my wife, and I did repeat her mistakes. Secondly, in a previous post I did mention that my daughter betrayed me by assisting her. I admit I over-exaggerated what I said and I apologize to my daughter for being angry towards her as she was trying to come to me for help, but I just didn't help because when she told me her revelations about my wife, I just felt so dumbfounded and I didn't think straight. Thirdly, one user mentioned that my son is living with relatives, but that is not true. He's back living in my former house. The same user also said I'm acting like my children don't exist, when that isn't true. If I didn't act like they didn't exist, I wouldn't have given them anything and I still talk to them every day, at least for now. Fourthly, I don't know the condition of my soon-to-be ex-wife and I don't care about her condition. She can rot for all I care. Finally, to the few people who are sending support, I thank you very much. Now on to the update. I apologize, it won't be too big. You tiny peener believe I was planning to end myself and they are right. I mentioned in another post that I was suicidal and I still am, and I admit I regret posting on Reddit as many people messaged me saying that I need to man up and be there for my children and told me to off myself. I don't know if this subreddit allows pictures, but I showed an example and there are many more. These people don't consider male mental health and male suicide rates and just expect me to suck it up and be there for my children, but I can tell you for a fact it's not that easy. I'm not in a fit position to take care of them. The only reason I'm going back to my home country is to try and feel good and start fresh from all the toxicity, but it's scary. I have all this bad thoughts and I keep thinking about how my whole life has been a lie. I have spoke to my children and I admitted my mental health isn't good, but I love them even if they aren't mine. I apologize for this rant. To all the men, even if you have a tiny gut that the children aren't yours, get a paternity test. It could have saved my life 18 years ago. Stories number 24. Aita for grabbing my newborn baby from my sill. I, 28F, had my son Kyson 4 months ago. At 22 weeks I was diagnosed with partial placenta previa and we were hoping and praying it would resolve, but at 28 weeks I was told I have complete placenta previa. This news hurt because I had a birth plan, but my doctor still closely monitored it even though he made it clear that there might be less chance of resolving it and might have a C-section. At 35 weeks I had heavy bleeding, so I delivered my beautiful baby boy through an emergency C-section. My son was in the NICU for 2 weeks before we got to go home. 2 weeks ago there was a family party at my MIL's house. I was sitting in the ladies when Kai started crying. So I breastfed him while chatting. Nobody had a problem with that. Then after that I handed him to my SIL since she wanted to play with him. While he was holding him she said something. So they started talking about my SIL's labor and she said it was a breeze. Then I said, "Ah, that's nice, I hope to have a natural with my second someday." Then she said, a natural birth needs preparation during the whole pregnancy. Then she went on to say, you never worked out or got active much. So I told her it was because of the placenta previa situation. This woman literally said, that's not an excuse though, I had rowed ligament pain and I still managed to keep active. I told her I was kept on bed rest half my pregnancy and had too many hospital visits, so I didn't want to do anything to risk putting myself in danger. Then she said, your body can feel the nerves and it reads accordingly, you should have relaxed and let nature take its course. That's how natural births work, the C-section was avoidable. I told her to F herself and took my baby out her arms and went to my hubby. We left after. Apparently she told anyone who asked where I am got sensitive and left the party. After a few days she asked to see Kyson and I said I'm not comfortable being around her at the moment. She accused me of weaponizing my son and using him to hurt her. Note, whole pregnancy she kept on giving unsolicited advice on how to fix the placenta previa, and I feel like she thinks if I had listened to her I would have had Kyson naturally. I felt sad for a few weeks after birth cause my birth plan didn't go how I wanted it to, these feelings just feel like they resurfaced tbh. I thought I was okay. Aita for grabbing him and not agreeing to visit her. Stories number 25. Neighbor drives through my yard and dumps their garbage on my property. I've been dealing with some bad neighbors for 3 years now. I thought I'd share my story both for entertainment value but also ask, what would you do differently in my situation? The context behind the neighbors: an old man lives there who had a wife that passed away before I moved in. Now some younger people from the projects, who aren't related to him, take advantage of him and live with him rent-free. How they met, I don't know. Despite the less than reputable characters that live with him, the old man is the biggest thorn in my side. I wish I could post pictures in this subreddit, but I'll just have to describe it. My house is situated further back from the road than theirs, I can see into their backyard from my front door. The old man likes to drive into his yard and pull up to his front door to unload groceries so he doesn't have to walk as far to take them in the house. I understand that part. The problem is, he pulls down my driveway, then across my yard to get to his front door. It kills my grass and leaves ruts in the yard. The next time I saw him outside, I asked him to stop driving in my yard and he said he would, but he kept doing it. A second time I asked him to stop, and again it didn't stop. After the third I was angry, so I went to his house and pounded on the door but nobody answered. I went home, wrote an angry note, and package taped it to his door threatening to call the police if it happened again. Surprise, it happened again. So after the fourth time it happened I went to the police, and the police told him to stop and he did. To this day he hasn't driven in my yard, thank goodness. But the story doesn't end here. After my trouble with them I put Ring cameras up on my property, and last month my cameras caught something baffling. He dumped a big box TV on my property. I have a huge yard and a lot of land, I even own some woods. He has a fenced-in yard and also owns some woods. He rode his lawn mower into my front yard, down my side yard and into my backyard all the way to my woods, and dumped a box TV back there. It wasn't even 3 feet into the woods. You know, rather than leave it by the curb for the garbage company to recycle for free, he had to get rid of it on my property. The audacity. So naturally I took a picture of the TV and pulled the recordings from my cameras and took it to the police. The police are charging him with littering and forcing him to remove the TV and dispose of it properly, as well as trespassing him from my property. He'll be hit with criminal mischief if he sets even a foot on my property again. There was one morning last year where I woke up to go to work in the morning, and there were like 10 local police cars and state cops all outside his house. Here the people from the projects that were living with him were dealing drugs out of his house and they were doing a bust on them. Everyone but the old man was arrested, and they just got let out of jail this month and are back in the house. I really just need to move. It's a shame because I live in such a nice neighborhood. It's the reason I even picked the house, the location. I've talked to my other neighbors about the bad neighbors and they said everything was fine before the old man's wife died. But now he almost seems like he has dementia and is being taken advantage of by some bad people. And now I have drug dealers and trespassers right next door. FML. Update. About a week ago I posted talking about my issues with my neighbor driving through my yard in the past and how I had the police tell them to stop, and how more recently my neighbor dumped a large box TV on my property, caught on my cameras and reported to the police. Yesterday, my camera caught my neighbor leaving a handwritten note on my door that I read when I got home from work, and I also heard from the police regarding the TV. I'll start with the conversation I had with the police and leeway into the note he left on my door. The police had been trying to reach my neighbor by phone for the last week, and had made multiple visits to their house to tell him to remove the TV, but he wasn't answering his phone or the door. So the officers on duty have been making routine visits on our street to see if they could catch him outside, and they finally did. They told him he had to remove the TV and he was livid, naturally. He tried to claim that the property wasn't mine and was his. It's mine, not sure why he thinks otherwise considering a fence separates our properties, and that he could do what he wants. The officers said whether it was mine or his was irrelevant, as littering is littering and you can't dispose of electric waste by dropping it in the woods and pretending it isn't there. So they told him he had to dispose of it properly, and they told me if the TV isn't gone in 3 to 4 days to call them again and they're going to give him a citation for it. So that was yesterday that this conversation happened between them. Around lunchtime was when my Ring camera caught him leaving the note. The note said along the lines of, I am giving you until June 1st to trim branches of a tree on your property that are dropping leaves and twigs into my property, or I'm filing a civil suit against you. I am tired of picking up the sticks and leaves dropped on my yard by your tree. So naturally the first thing I did was look up my state and local laws, and also went to the police station to notify the officers that this happened so they were aware of it and could make a report. The officers at the station told me not to worry about it, they know what he's like and he wouldn't actually go through with it. He's just mad that I got him in trouble and is taking it out on me with any excuse he can come up with, and the officers told me it's not my responsibility to take care of it. Our state and local laws state that it's not the responsibility of the owner to trim branches that protrude over property line, but that property owner that it is protruding on is allowed to cut back the branches back off of their property line. Whether you agree with that or not is up to you, but that's the law that I both read and that the police department informed me of. But here's the thing, the tree is healthy and it's not dropping large branches or anything of the sort, nor does it go over anything that would cause damage to his property. Even if it did, insurance takes care of that, it's not my responsibility. He's obviously butthurt about me getting him in trouble these last few months and is reaching at anything he possibly can to cause trouble for me like I have for him. Unfortunately I'm an upstanding citizen and he has no grounds to get me in trouble with anything. Also our police department and local government despises him and his residents so much that even if this somehow does go to court, his word is nothing compared to mine. So, I'm calling his bluff and ignoring him. I know him well enough at this point too, I'm not giving him the attention he wants. If he would have been kind about the situation and had a respectful conversation with me about the tree I would have been a lot more considerate. But he didn't even talk to me about it. Now that he thinks he can threaten me, he can forget it. The amount he's inconvenienced me severely outweighs leaves falling from my tree into his yard. Maybe when he stops driving across my yard and dumping garbage on my property and trespassing, I'll think about whether or not to help him. I can't believe there's people on this planet so selfish. See my last post for the details on how these people are the scum of our community. Crack-dealing sociopaths in the one garbage house of our nice neighborhood. I'm really disappointed things have ended up this way because the whole reason I even got the house was because of the neighborhood, but I had to pick the one place next door to the crack dealers and trespassers. Again, FML. I'm going to start looking for a new place to live. I'm so thankful the police has been so helpful and understanding of the situation, but it seems no matter how many times I send them and no matter how willing they are to cause trouble for me, this needless drama won't end until they're out of that house or I just leave. I keep to myself I'm a single, quiet guy who minds his own business in his own house. I just want to be left alone. It's time to start looking elsewhere I think. Anyways, I hope my strife has been entertaining. I'll probably have another update after the first week of June regarding all of this. Would you have done anything differently? Let me know if you have any advice. Thanks. Final update. This will be my final update regarding what's been going on, unless anything substantial happens in the future. I don't think anything else is going to come of this particular situation, but some things have happened between now and my last post. Here's what's happened. In my last posts I told the story of my recent strife with my neighbor, an old man who keeps trespassing on my property and drove through my yard on multiple occasions, only stopping after the police made him do so. He then trespassed again by dumping a large box TV in my woods in my backyard. After telling the police about the TV and after they confronted him and told him to remove it, he left a note on my door threatening legal action for a tree that's dropping leaves and twigs in his yard, and if I didn't take care of it by June 1st, he'd be suing me. For the finer details where I went more in depth about it, see my last post from about a week and a half ago from the link above. As for the update, it's now June 3rd and naturally I've done nothing about the tree. Countless conversations with other people, including the police, as well as my own research tell me I'm not responsible. I haven't heard from the neighbor, haven't heard from anybody on his behalf, haven't gotten any more notes on my door or in my mailbox or anything of the sort. It was just as we suspected, all bark no bite. He was mad about me getting him in trouble and tried to intimidate me and it didn't work. He's since removed the TV. Where he put it I'm not sure, I never saw it on the curb for the garbage or anything, for all I know he could have just threw it in his own woods, but I don't care enough to attempt to find out. It's off my property and none of my business anymore as a result. I also double-checked with the police to be sure that he was trespassed for good, and they assured me he was, and him removing the TV from my property was the last time he or anybody in that house was permitted from stepping foot on it, and he understood this. As many commenters suggested, I went down to our local human services building in our township and spoke to somebody in the Office of Aging. It's our version of Adult Protective Services. I spent an hour at their office and made a full report on the whole situation to them, the old man and his seemingly declined mental state and physical state, the types of people living with him. I gave them all the juicy details, from the footage of him struggling to climb 2 stairs onto my porch to leave the note showcasing his physical state, to another time where he chased a squirrel on his lawn mower into my yard showcasing his mental state. I even showed them the footage I had from the raid on his house where the people that were living with them were, temporarily, arrested for dealing crack out of his house. I gave them the names of the people living with him, given to me by my buddy in the police department who has been dealing with them for me. I left no detail out, no stone unturned. The woman I spoke with submitted the report to their investigation unit, but she said I wouldn't get an update regarding the situation. I'm only going to hear from anybody if they ask for more information from me. Only time will tell if this will do any good not only for myself, but for the old man too. To summarize, the TV is off my property, they're officially trespassed, their legal action threats were bluffs, and they haven't driven on my yard since. I feel better about everything and I'm hoping that this is the last I have to deal with for the foreseeable future, but only time will tell. Of course, should anything else happen I'll be quick to tell it here, but for now this will be the last time I post regarding this situation. I also wanted to thank everybody for the suggestions made on my previous posts. I wouldn't have thought to make a report with the Office of Aging if it wasn't for commenters. Here's hoping he gets the help he needs and I get the peace and quiet I've been longing for. Final comments. Commenter 1. Having dealt with multiple agencies, such as the one you spilled your story out to, it has now entered a black hole, likely never to be seen again. At least you've done your part. Reply. I'm not expecting anything to come of it either. Even if they investigate it, the man is just cognizant enough that he'll probably still be able to rationalize his occupant's existence. Either way, it was the right thing to do. Commenter 2. That's not the way dementia works. One thing to be aware of is that the disease causes people to A. Forget stuff, and B. Replace impulse, doing stuff on purpose, with habit, doing what one has always done. I don't know, but this may be why, e.g. he wasn't stopping the front door route, habit, or removing the TV, forgetting stuff. I could go on, but I'd assume this guy is almost certainly being taken advantage of, so keep bugging the police for patrols and APS for self-care issues. Take it from me, having trouble climbing 2 stairs is well into frail territory, if not 100% fall risk. Reply. When he dumped the TV, he had the one guy who lives with him help him. He towed the TV to the back of my yard on his lawn mower, then had the young guy put it there. I should have mentioned this, but even if he did forget, the young guy knew it was there too. He didn't do it alone. I more or less meant he seems to be in the early stages of it, but I see where you're coming from. I'm aware of how dementia works. I worked in an assisted living facility in my teens where half the patients there had it. It's why I've emphasized that not only for my sake, but especially for his sake I hope he gets the help he needs. I'm not expecting my report to get anywhere for him though. Stories number 26. Aita for not replacing my nephew's leather jacket after my dog had an accident on it. We have 3 dogs, one of which we took in recently when his owner died. He's nice but prefers quiet, and when we have guests he will go upstairs to our bedroom and chill on our bed. Also, he's only ever had dry food and anything different upsets his stomach, which causes a hygiene issue as he has long fur. This weekend we had family over and everyone brought food for a buffet, my 3 brothers, their wives and lots of adult teen children. We've had issues previously where people don't listen to us about the dogs and sneaking them food is common, so as they were coming in I was loudly announcing, don't feed Pickles any treats or human food, anyone caught will be the one upstairs shampooing the poop out of his fur. My SAL Tracy laughed and made some comment about me being unnecessarily graphic, so I pointed out that people hadn't listened in the past and I was not playing around this time because Pickles was more sensitive than our other dogs. Anyway, later on my husband found a piece of sausage roll on the floor upstairs. Nephew Dave, 19, admitted he'd tried to make friends with Pickles by giving him food. My husband and I were not happy, but everyone else brushed it off as not a big deal. I went up to check on Pickles and that's when I realized that everyone had put their coats in our room when they arrived. They'd always done this in the past and honestly I never thought to tell them different. Anyway, he'd obviously eaten something and got an upset stomach, not wanted to come downstairs with a crowd there, so he'd had a small accident, some of which had got on Dave's leather jacket. He's never had an accident in the house before. I called my husband and took Pickles into the shower to get cleaned up. People came up to see what was happening, and when Dave saw his jacket he was furious, raised voice and red-faced, accusing me of making the dog do it on purpose to prove a point. We cleaned it off with antibacterial wipes and it was fine, no smell or marks on the leather, although obviously for hygiene reasons it would need cleaning properly. Well, that was the end of the party. Everyone left pretty quickly, not wanting to be in the middle of it, but Dave and Tracy stayed behind yelling until my brother persuaded them to leave, saying we'd sort it out later. It was a mess, but honestly I thought it would blow over, but it hasn't. Dave and Tracy are both texting me saying we need to pay £150 for a new jacket. I keep saying no, it was his own fault and I was the one who ended up cleaning up poop. Husband was on my side at first but is wavering. He says we knew they'd ignore us and we should have taken more care to put the coats in another room. He said I'm focusing on being technically right, Dave is just a teen and this is not the hill we should die on. So, Aita. We can afford to replace it. Had Pickles chewed his coat I'd replace it in a heartbeat, which makes me think maybe Iata. I offered to pay cleaning but that's not good enough for him. Stories number 27. I ratted out an elderly diabetic in the hospital, probably violating his medical privacy. While my husband was in the hospital awaiting surgery, they put him in a shared room. I was visiting and the elderly man in the next bed got a visitor who seemed to be his son. I could not hear them, although I tried not to be a snoop. The dad was griping that he was stuck in the hospital until they could find him a nursing home to go live in because of his diabetes. The son said the hospital told him that he, Dad, was admitted because his blood sugar was high. The dad confirmed this, then a few minutes later, confessed that he'd snuck some of his sugar-free chocolates in. He said he only ate 2 of them and he didn't think they'd make his blood sugar go that high. The son didn't seem worried about that, but I know that sugar-free chocolates can still make your blood sugar spike. A few minutes later, a nurse came in to check his blood sugar. She was shocked to see it was almost 400. She said out loud how she didn't understand, he had only eaten a small lunch since his last test and she thought the equipment must be malfunctioning. Now I was really paying attention. She left to go find a different test kit. I was shaking my head, as the old guy did not confess his secret chocolates. She came back and tested him again and it was about the same. He still didn't confess. She said she had to go prepare some insulin for him. She was clearly frustrated and mystified. I have diabetics and nurses in my family, so I couldn't just let this slide. I had to let the nurse know. I told my husband I'd be back in a minute and stepped out. I saw the nurse down the hallway typing into a computer terminal, so I stopped next to her and quietly told her that I overheard the old gentleman telling his son he had snuck in some sugar-free chocolates into the hospital when he was admitted. She immediately got this, wow, look on her face and she said, oh, that explains it. I told her that I didn't want her thinking that his diabetes was really that bad or that he had some other serious medical problem or even that her testing equipment didn't work. I told her he was just sneaky, loved his chocolates, and clearly didn't want to confess to a nurse. She whispered to me that the reason he was going to a nursing home was because his blood sugar was out of control and he needed to be where someone could manage it for him. I told her I already heard that from him, which is part of why I wanted her to know about the secret chocolates. She was very grateful. I just asked her not to tell him that she knew about the chocolates, as then the old man would know that his roommate's wife ratted him out. When you share a hospital room, there is no privacy, so don't expect it. Stories number 25. They said all guests must sign in, so I made the CEO wait in the lobby until security approved him. We got a new visitor policy last week. The email was bolded, underlined and said, all guests must sign in and wait for security clearance before entering. No exceptions. I work front desk. Normally, executives just walk through. But hey, the email said what it said. So when the CEO came in early for a board meeting, smiled, and started heading for the elevator. I handed him the clipboard and said, sorry sit, I'll need you to sign in and wait while I call it in. He looked confused, maybe a little amused, but sat down. Security took their time, 10 full minutes. The next morning, we got a new email, use discretion for executive-level visitors. Go figure. Stories number 26. I was promised a financial gift from my dad but he died before I got it. My sisters now say I shouldn't be able to claim it from the estate. I, F30, recently lost my dad. My sisters and I are due to receive some money from my dad's estate. I brought up with my mom that my younger sister, 27, received a financial gift from my dad last year to help her with the cost of driving lessons and the purchase of a car. I was told at the time that I would get the same amount towards the cost of a car when I bought one. My mom told me to raise this with my sisters as they had both been given financial help from my dad with buying a car and I hadn't, due to not having started learning. I brought this up with them today and asked that I receive this money from the estate. They said that it's not their fault that my dad passed away before I started to learn how to drive and I don't have any claim to money I was promised. I responded that it was unfair that they had both received the money and that I should be paid this out of his estate. They disagreed and said that I couldn't make claims to be owed this, with my older sister, 35, saying that as she learned to drive when she was 17, it was ridiculous to even bring this up. My sister was given a car and driving lessons as a gift when she turned 17, however, 5 years later when I turned 17, my family was in financial difficulty and couldn't afford to do the same for me, and so I didn't learn. I then went off to university, moved abroad, moved back to the UK living in a big city and always used public transport, so driving wasn't a priority. As I get older I want to learn for when I have kids, hopefully in the next 5 years. This disagreement led to a huge argument and my older sister storming off and calling me names. This feels quite obvious to me, but they're of a very different opinion and it's causing rifts in our relationship. Stories number 27. I confess that I pretended to be my own neighbor for months, and no one noticed. It all started when I moved alone to a new apartment and discovered that there was a WhatsApp group between neighbors. Since I didn't know anyone and wanted to avoid problems, noise, packages, parking, etc., I decided to join. The problem was that they accidentally added me twice with different numbers. I was using an old chip in a tablet and I had it turned on by mistake. Instead of leaving the group with one of the numbers, I decided to experiment. I named the other number Don Ernesto, a fictional character who is 72 years old, retired, a chess lover and somewhat grumpy. Little by little, Don Ernesto began to become popular in the group. He gave advice, shared recipes, complained about small things but with grace. He even once organized a chess afternoon in the park, which he obviously didn't attend, but everyone understood because of his fragile health. The problem was that I started to get too attached to the character. I would surprise myself by responding like him at 2 a.m., using sayings that I never use in real life. On one occasion, someone in the group called him the soul of the building. After 6 months, I decided to kill Don Ernesto. I posted a message from his number saying he had passed away peacefully, thanking everyone for their company. There were sad emojis, someone even proposed naming the reading corner of the building after him. Now I live knowing that I faked the life, and death, of a person who never existed, and who was perhaps more loved than me. Too weird? Maybe. But I had to get it off my chest. Thanks for reading. Stories number 28. Aita for refusing to pay for my sister's wedding dress even though I could afford it. I recently got a pretty big promotion at work and I've been smart with money, no debt, decent savings, etc. My family knows this. My older sister is getting married next year, and she's kind of the princess of the family. My parents have always bent over backwards for her, and I've been the background child. It is what it is. Anyway, she picked out a wedding dress that's way over her budget, and apparently, my mom suggested I could pay for the difference since I'm doing so well. Nobody even asked me, they just assumed I'd say yes. When I said no, my sister blew up. She said I was jealous because she's getting married first, that I'm selfish for not wanting to help family, and now my mom is guilt-tripping me saying we're all supposed to support each other. I told them if she wants the expensive dress, she can either save up or pick a cheaper one. And now I'm the villain. Stories number 29. I, 31M, want to end relationship with fiancé, 30F, and call off wedding. I have no one to talk to about this and I need someone to guide me on how to handle this situation. I'm in a bit of a pickle. My relationship with my fiancé started off great, but moved really fast. I believe there was some love bombing in the beginning from her, and she made it clear she wanted to be married soon, like a year from when we met. We've been together a year and a half. There have been so many life events that I've had to unwillingly proceed with to keep the relationship going. In 3 months of living together, she wanted to buy a new house, and to be clear, I moved into her house. I said, maybe hold off on it to find a better deal. She didn't take my word at all, and just continued on. Not a big deal, it's her money, I don't want to interfere with that. But it did bother me because now I need to drive further to work, move again. Anyways, I let that one slide. However, this theme of her making decisions without my input has continued on. This is just one example. More recently she has started to show more signs of controlling narcissistic behavior. One minor thing she does, is if I'm at home and go into another room, I almost always hear her yelling from across the house, not in an aggressive way but she's trying to get my attention. The same goes for my hobbies. I'll get interrupted, or I get the, you're not spending enough time with me, but when I do spend time with her she's basically on her phone the whole time. She also has no faith in me when I say try to fix things around the house. She's afraid I'm going to mess something up even though I'm an electrician and experienced with handyman type work. Also she has trust issues when I'm at work late, or if I leave the house when she's not home even if it's for 15 minutes. To make a long story short, we are set to get married in 2 months. Big extravagant wedding that I didn't ask for, also a big extravagant bachelor party I didn't ask for. I really don't want this anymore, but I feel like so much is invested at this point. I really hate that friends and family have spent their hard-earned money to make this wedding happen, whereas I haven't really spent anything. The bachelor party is already paid for, and the wedding. The bachelor party they wouldn't get any money back, but the wedding might be able to get a little or half of the money back. I just don't know what to do at this point. I guess I should just end it and find my own place. I think she is definitely a covert narcissist. We still have fun together, and get along for the most part. We've had more fights and arguments than what I'd consider normal, however nothing turned violent or any screaming matches. My friends have dismissed my concerns about the narcissistic behavior. It's left me confused and wondering if I'm making the wrong assumptions, and if leaving would be a bad decision. Now I have no one I can talk to about this. I think I have my answer, but I just need reassurance going forward. Stories number 30. Entitled sister-in-law asked me to give her my couch because I'm single. My sister-in-law just moved into a new place and she's been slowly furnishing it. She comes over the other day, eyes my couch which I bought brand new less than a year ago and goes, "Wow, this would look so good in my apartment." Like seriously, you don't even really need a couch this big. You live alone. Mine's falling apart and the delivery people scratched it on the way in. I could totally take this one off your hands. I told her I'm not giving away my couch, obviously. She then goes, "Common, it's just a couch. Family helps family. You could buy another one when they go on sale, and I mean you are single." I angrily asked her, "Excuse me? I'm supposed to give you my $1,000 couch, and go buy myself a new one because I'm single?" She stammered, "It's fine," and left after some minutes. Stories number 31. My aunt invited me to her son's birthday, but I was the entertainment. 1 week ago my aunt invited me to my little cousin's birthday. I assumed it was a casual family get-together, so I showed up with a gift. 15 minutes in, she pulls me aside and says, "Okay, you'll start the face painting at 1:30, then make some balloons into animals like dog, etc." I literally laughed, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. She'd told the other parents I was a party entertainer because I used to be artistic in high school. No warning. No offer to pay. Just expected me to work party like it was my job. When I said no, she called me ungrateful and said I ruined her son's special day. I still can't decide what's worse, her entitlement or the fact that one mom legit asked me to do a clown. Update: so, it's been a few days since the birthday celebration, and things got weirder. My aunt has been telling the whole family that I refused to help at the party out of nowhere, like I backed out of some formal contract. My mom called me and was like, "Did you really leave them without entertainment?" I had to explain that was never booked, I was just invited. Then I found out she posted a passive-aggressive Facebook status. Some people just don't understand the meaning of family or sacrifice anymore. SMH. The best part. My cousin apparently asked if I was mad at him because I didn't do the balloon animals. So I had to reassure a 6-year-old that I wasn't mad at him, I just wasn't hired to perform at his birthday like a magician on Craigslist. Aunt still hasn't apologized. But guess who just invited someone else to her daughter's party next month? Not me. I guess they're hiring an actual entertainment this time. Growth, I guess. Stories number 32. Aita for refusing to help my mom after she prioritized my golden child brother for years. So, I have a younger brother, Luke, and growing up, it was so obvious that he was the favorite. My mom practically bent over backwards for him while I was the responsible one: good grades, part-time job, helped with chores. Meanwhile, Luke got away with everything. Failed a class. He's just stressed. Crashed dad's car. He's just a kid. I swear if I set the house on fire, I'd get disowned, but if Luke did it, she'd ask if he wanted marshmallows. It hurt, but I learned to deal with it. I moved out as soon as I could, and honestly, going low contact helped my mental health a lot. Fast forward to a few weeks ago, my mom called me, crying. Luke had moved out and is now refusing to speak to her because she told him he needs to start acting like an adult. Apparently, he expected her to keep paying his rent and groceries, even though he has a full-time job now. Anyway, she's now all alone and suddenly wants to reconnect with me. Wants to come visit, wants to spend the holidays together, even asked if she could stay with me for a while since she's not in the best place emotionally. And here's where I might be the jerk: I told her no. Flat out. I told her she made her choices and now has to live with them. That I'm not her emotional support daughter now that her precious son has bailed. She started sobbing and saying she always loved me equally and that I'm being cruel. My aunt even texted me saying I'm being heartless and should be grateful I still have a mom. Now I'm feeling kind of guilty. I'm not trying to punish her, but I honestly don't feel safe letting her back into my life like that. So, Aita, Stories number 33. My dad who wasn't my dad has been wanting me to come live with him now that I'm pregnant. So, long story short, when I was 12, we found out my mom was a piece of shit and I wasn't my dad's daughter. He left us, just cut and dry. When he found out, he stormed out, and I never saw him constantly again until recently. He popped up occasionally, every other blue moon for stuff, but overall, after 12, he was gone. Now, I'm pregnant by my ex, who I've known since he was 7 and I was 10. My dad never liked him, even when he was little. So he found out somehow that I'm pregnant now, and I'm leaning on my ex for everything. He wants me to pack up and come live with him. He's done well, he's got a nice house in a really good neighborhood. He's been giving me rides home, trying to convince me. I see him every day when it's my lunch break. Update, I told my ex about my father, cause he didn't know about any of this. I can tell he wanted to get mad, but he just said no and maybe another time I can visit and spend the night. But I'm not moving in with him. I don't know, I just felt like something clicked and said, I'm not a child. I can stay where I want. And he said, as long as I'm carrying his baby, I run on his time. After that, I can go be a hoe as much as I want. I don't know where that came from, but I started yelling. He got in my face and I just left the house to go and grab some dinner. I've been thinking about moving in with my father, but I've already got stuff set up here. It's the only thing keeping me. Stories number 34. My fiancé, 29M, keeps joking about calling off the wedding, and I, 27F, don't find it funny anymore. I'm hoping for some advice or at least outside perspective because I'm not sure if I'm overreacting. My fiancé, 29M, and I, 27F, have been together for 5 years, engaged for 1. Our wedding is scheduled for early next year. Lately, he's been making jokes repeatedly, about how there's still time to back out or how he's still shopping around. He says it in a light-hearted tone, often around friends or family, but it's been happening more often and even in private. At first, I brushed it off as nerves or just bad humor, but now it's honestly starting to hurt. When I told him that it makes me uncomfortable and I would appreciate it if he stopped, he just laughed and said I was being too sensitive and that he was obviously joking. But it doesn't feel like a joke to me anymore. It feels dismissive and a bit cruel. We've never really had issues communicating before, but I feel like every time I bring this up, he shuts it down or makes me feel like I'm the one being unreasonable. I love him, and I do want to marry him, but this behavior is making me question things I never questioned before. Am I overthinking this? Has anyone else dealt with something similar? Stories number 35. The hidden notes. Many years ago I worked in an ad agency. One of the account managers was this stupid bint who had a grudge against my department and pretended to work late, even later than us, and go and snoop on the drawers and try and find stuff to stitch on us to the boss. This was the days before hot desking. I had decided I was leaving in a few months, so was just earning the last bits of money before I left the country, so decided to just let her know what I thought about her. Kept writing notes like, fuck off you snooping snitch, and, we know what you are doing, and, nothing to see here, we all just hate you, and hiding them deep in my drawer. We knew she had seen them as her behavior changed slightly, but she couldn't admit to seeing them without admitting to snooping. Left that company and the country nearly 30 years ago and don't regret it a single moment. Stories number 36. AIO for telling my girlfriend she was being classist after she made a comment about my mom's job. My girlfriend, 25F, and I, 24M, have been dating for about 8 months. Things have been mostly great. She comes from a very academic background, her parents are both professors and she's finishing med school. My mom cleans houses. She's been doing it her whole life, and she works her ass off. She raised me alone, and I owe everything to her. Last week, my girlfriend and I were planning a dinner with both our families. I suggested we do something low-key at my mom's house. My girlfriend kind of hesitated, then said, I just don't want my parents to feel awkward. I don't want to sound rude, but your mom is a cleaning lady, my dad might find that kind of weird. I went totally quiet. She realized I was upset and said I was being overly sensitive. I told her she was being classist, and it was offensive. She rolled her eyes and said, I just don't want my parents to feel out of place. It's not personal. I haven't talked to her in 2 days. Am I overreacting? Stories number 37. AITJ for asking my roommate's boyfriend to stop basically living with us. So I live in a 2-bedroom apartment with 1 roommate. We've been living together for almost a year, and things were fine until her boyfriend started showing up. At first, it was the usual, staying over a few nights a week situation. Whatever. I didn't love it, but I let it go. But now, he's literally here every single day. Like, I wake up, he's in the kitchen. I get home from work, he's on the couch. He showers here. He uses my laundry detergent. He even once used my leftovers from the fridge and said, "Oh, I thought they were hers." Bro, you don't live here. He's not on the lease, doesn't pay rent, and definitely doesn't clean. And to top it off, their couple dynamic is loud. Like, I hear everything. Not even in a gross way, just in a non-stop, baby this, and, no you hang up, way that makes my brain melt. So I finally said something. I told her, politely, that it feels like we now have a third roommate who's not contributing to anything and that I'm not comfortable with him being here 24/7. She got super cold and defensive. Said I was trying to control her relationship, and that I'm just not used to being around healthy love. What? Now the energy in the apartment is weird, she's barely speaking to me, and the boyfriend is still here, acting like this is his house. So, am I overreacting? Or is it fair to not want a full-time boyfriend roommate I never agreed to? Stories number 38. Husband installed security cameras without telling me. I need an outside perspective about a situation so that I can show my husband what other people think. Me, 43F husband 43M. We have some security cameras inside and outside our house. Both of us have full access to the cameras. The indoor ones are to keep an eye on the pets and young children. The one in the living room has not been working correctly and admittedly I haven't bothered to try to fix it. It probably just needs to be reset or something. My husband flew to another state for a week for a new job training. Since we have young children, he suggested a mutual friend, M35, help me with the kids. Today, my friend and I noticed 2 new cameras in the living room. I had no idea who installed them. They aren't the brand I use. So I unplugged them both and sent pictures of them to my husband asking if he knew about them. He said that he purchased and installed them before he left for training. I told him it was creepy to install security cameras in the house without A, informing me, his wife, who lives here, and B, giving me full access to them. He said that he felt insulted that I said such actions are creepy. He said that he installed them because he wants to make sure our kids are safe in the living room, that the living room camera is broken, that he cares about our family. Those reasons for installing cameras are fine and dandy, those are valid reasons, but that does not change the fact that it was done without informing me. He claims he forgot to tell me about it. We got in an argument about it, so I told him that I would ask other people what they think, as he doesn't seem to think that such actions are creepy, and feels insulted that I said his actions were creepy. What say you? Edited to add context. To those that say having interior cams is creepy, I completely get that perspective. More context. He's deaf. Like, completely uses ASL to communicate. We initially got interior cameras and put them over the baby's bed so that when he was not in the room with them as they slept, he had a camera so he could check in on them without needing to be in line of sight the whole time. We ended up adding a camera in the living room because our older kid would fall asleep in the couch for the same reason. He can't hear the kids crying and the cameras were the solution he settled on after trying various other things. The other one is in the basement monitoring the washer and dryer so he can see when they are done. Stories number 39. Late afternoon beach wedding with excellent food. But only for some people. My wife and I were invited to a wedding of 2 friends we knew for a long time. The invite said the ceremony was going to be on the beach around 5 p.m. Once that was over, everyone would walk to a little restaurant nearby on the shore. We were told they had excellent seafood and burgers. The ceremony was really beautiful and we all hung around on the beach afterward for the pictures. It was a small affair, only about 20 people, the happy couple, both sets of their parents, a couple brothers and sisters, and about 10 non-relative friends. At this point it was getting to be around 6:30 and everyone was getting pretty hungry. We walked over to the restaurant and ordered drinks in the bar, made a couple toasts to the bride and groom, and assumed we were waiting to be seated. Sometime between 7 and 7:30 we saw the family members being escorted to a table. The bride and groom come over to us and one says, "We're being seated now, so you guys can continue hanging out here, but I don't think they serve food in the bar." One of our friends says, "Heck no, we're starving," followed by cheery muttering of agreement from everyone else. They both look a little surprised. Oh. We only made reservations for the family members, we were expecting people to make their own dinner reservations if they planned to stay. The bride went and asked the hostess if there were any tables available and we were told no, they were fully booked up for the remainder of the evening. The bride and groom apologized, thanked us for coming, and went back to their table. The thing is, we're all such good friends that we just rolled with it. The rest of us found a place nearby and had a great time. Stories number 40. Officially trespassed psycho neighbor this weekend. Vent rant. I am close with the neighbor on the other side of NFH. Friday, NFH was outside watering her lawn and saw good neighbor, GN, pull up with her daughter and go inside. She then saw my husband and I leave. A few minutes later, I got a text from GN telling me that NFH is on her porch screaming at her through the doorbell camera that she had better come outside or she was going to send the police. She stood there, on the phone with 911, who apparently gave her permission to enter GN's property, for 3 minutes screaming about the fence. Weekend before last, NFH tried to patch up knot holes in the fence GN had installed with mud and a child's apron which left piles of mud on GN's astroturf. GN's husband texted NFH's husband and asked that they not do that since it created a mess. NFH's husband apologized and asked if they could hang some signs over the holes and GN husband agreed. GN thought that was the last of it, until Friday. GN and her daughter were scared senseless and her husband was shaking from adrenaline. We went back home as soon as possible and went to check on GN. They had been advised from a friend of theirs who is a former LEO to call 911 themselves to have her trespassed. We waited with them since we've had continual issues with her speaking to our children after being told to stop. The police showed up and mentioned in her 911 call she stated GNs were drilling holes in the fence to spy on them. We all told him what was going on and he went over to advise her she is officially warned to stay off all of our properties and to leave all neighbors including children alone, and if she doesn't, we can have her arrested. After the officer left, 2 more neighbors came over and informed me they've witnessed her crawling through my yard to spray something on my landscaping, blowing leaves out of her yard into mine, and cutting my azaleas and throwing them over the fence. We are hoping to have an upgraded camera system installed next month to cover that side of the house because I don't put it past her to try to poison my dog since she's already apparently tried to poison my plants. Also, sat my daughter down and explained to her that she is to completely ignore NFH as she sees her outside and if NFH tries to talk to her to let us know ASAP. Stories number 41. Aita for tearing a family apart over money. My girlfriend's father had a business which was started by his great-grandfather back in the 50s and passed through to different members of his family. His father eventually ended up being sole owner after buying out the others. The last person he bought out was his brother to whom he paid about $20,000 back in the early 80s. This business did not generate much money so he left it to become a grocery store manager while renting out the commercial property. When he passed, he left the property to his wife, my girlfriend's mother. She's, the mother, has been receiving rent, about $2,800 a month, but it's barely enough to cover taxes, insurance, and maintenance costs. In most years, she takes home around $5,000. She wants to sell it for about $350,000 and use the money to travel and see family then move into a retirement community. She's not rich and is basically living off of Social Security and measly rental income. My girlfriend asked my opinion since I'm experienced with land and property, so I told her I thought the asking price was too low for a commercial property sitting on an acre of land in the middle of town. She said that's what it's worth according to their property tax. Apparently throughout the entire history of the property, the family had been using the tax assessment to determine the price of buying in and out of the business. I told her the tax assessment and property value are 2 different things, so I sent my appraiser out and he came back with an appraisal of about $1.2 million. They were shocked and didn't think that was an accurate price until they started getting offers after it was listed. After some bidding, they came to an agreement with a buyer for almost $1.5 million. The closing is next week. When their family found out, things exploded. Everyone who's still alive thought they got ripped off for the past buyouts, some dating back to the 60s. They want their fair share of the selling price, but that's almost impossible because we're talking about a dozen people with some owning half of the business at some point. Now the family her mother was wanting to visit are threatened to sue. It's been stressful on my girlfriend and she's taking it out on me. Last night she told me that things might have been better if I didn't bring up the appraisal since all it did was tear her family apart. Stories number 42. Your dog exists for my child's amusement. This sub is so fun. This happened a while ago but I'm enjoying this sub so much I'd like to share one. I walked my mom's elderly mostly blind and deaf dachshund to a park and sat down at a table while holding his leash. He had very little energy, he's past now, and the leash is mainly to show him which direction to walk. The park was mostly empty except 2 moms talking and their 2 toddlers in the playground, about 30 feet from me. Suddenly I hear this high-pitched long persistent shriek and a toddler is running full bore towards my mom's dog with hands out ahead. The dog is already getting agitated, looking around him to see what's making that ungodly noise. He can't see much. I stand up and get in front of the dog with my hands out to block to onslaught and call out that he's friendly but blind and needs a slow approach. Otherwise he could get afraid and bite. The toddler looks shocked that I've come between her and her plaything, and goes into full tantrum mode, trying to get around me to the dog. I expect the mother to step in and give her kid the obligatory, ask before touching a dog, hold out your hand and move slowly, talk, but she doesn't. She sits there scowling at me and then finally gets up and stomps over as if I'm the problem. While she is calming, cough. Encouraging her kid's meltdown, I hear her repeat several times in my direction and to her friend, "Why do you bring a dog to the park if you don't expect kids to play with it? WTF, he's not a tricycle." Stories number 43. I finally got an answer to why a man lost interest in me, and it's the conclusion I was trying to avoid. I've been in the dating pool for 3 years now, and whether I'm trying to find someone to hook up with or something a little more long-term, it always seems like you'll see a guy a couple times then they will ghost me. Whenever someone points out a behavior that can be perceived as problematic, texting too much, I have tried to work on it. However, no matter how much I work on myself, nothing ever changes. Nobody ever tells me why, nobody ever says what I'm doing wrong. My best friend is skinny, and she has never seemed to have the trouble I have. I am 5 feet 6 inches and 180 pounds, but everyone always says I look more like 160 pounds. So I'm not that big, but I'm definitely not skinny. I've put a lot of effort into trying to convince myself that the problem is something besides the fact that I'm not skinny. Something I can fix. Yesterday a guy I met up with a few times said he would just like to be platonic friends. One of the rare ones to be kind about it instead of ghosting. So I asked him why. He told me he just isn't that physically attracted to me. I wish he gave me something I could fix, and I know you can lose weight, but I was 160 pounds in high school and would buy clothes that would fit. When I lose weight, a few years ago I had to get rid of a lot of stuff and I got rid of the stuff that was too small and promised myself I wouldn't do that anymore. I have worked on it. Eve lost 40 pounds in the last 3 years. I gained the weight during a very unhealthy relationship. I've been trying to go to the gym and eat better, not for weight purposes, but because I want to be healthier. When I eat better I feel better. I want to be able to run distances. I have accepted I weigh what I do, I just wish society would accept it too. Stories number 44. Aita for crying when my boyfriend let his best friend's wife alter the dish I made for dinner. My boyfriend, 28M, and I, 22F, met at work 2 years ago. Technically I was working part-time during undergrad and he was a customer, but after a couple of months, we started going out. I really love this man and nothing has happened on this scale before, so I'm very confused about it. My BF has a very tight group of friends. I am well acquainted with them, and their girlfriends. One of them, Dave, just is married to Ellie, fake names. Ellie is an excellent cook and often hosts dinners, and everyone brings a dessert to those dinners. I am the youngest in the group, so most times they brush off my requests for contributing or bringing in a dessert. However, the last time I asked Dave and Ellie if they wanted anything extra like wine or some sweet dish for dinner, they said I could bring one of those sweet dishes I make for my boyfriend. I'm Indian, and even though I can't cook as well as my mom, and I'm in a different country for studies, I called my mom up and had her teach me properly how to make a specific Bengali sweet which is my favorite. I had my friends taste it and they said it was great. My boyfriend ate some and said it was excellent. Except, last night, I greeted Ellie and kept the dish in the kitchen. When the food was brought out and my boyfriend told everyone I made it, I saw that someone had added cinnamon powder to the sweet. You never have the sweet with cinnamon powder. The dessert tasted like cinnamon and I felt horrible. Though everyone said thank you and it was good, I think my face gave it away, and my boyfriend took me aside and said that Ellie had told him that my sweet looked too white and thought some cinnamon might bring some color into it. I don't know, I just felt awful and I started to tear up. My boyfriend then defended Ellie and said that his friends already think I'm a child and not make a big deal of this and we will talk about it. I told him Ellie asked him first, couldn't he have told her not to add cinnamon to the sweet? He told me he didn't think it was a big deal and asked me to drop the topic on the way home. I didn't text him goodnight and this morning he said he was sorry and said my crying made him feel like an awful person. I don't know, now I think I overreacted. Aita. Update, Ellie saw this post. My boyfriend texted me to see if it was me. I said yes. He said we needed to talk. For safety purposes, my best friend will be here. I don't know, I never expected my post to blow up. Update, Aita for crying when my boyfriend let his best friend's wife alter the dish I made for dinner. He said he needed space from the relationship. I think with the way this post blew up and what happened because of a post, I should clear up some things. I never asked if I should leave my boyfriend for this. I asked if this was an overreaction, my crying. But having thousands of people tell me this was racially charged, Ellie wanted power, my BF is shitty, etc., my brain went haywire. BF called yesterday and when I got there, his house, with my best friend, Dave and Ellie were there. Ellie was crying and Dave looked really pissed at me. My BF told me to sit down and Dave started with how could I make a post that most of the people in the dinner party would recognize and know, and could shame Ellie and my BF. My BF was silent, and wouldn't even look at me, and was only shaking his head. It felt like I was a kid, being scolded by my parents with my elder sibling disappointed in my actions. That is what I felt and it looked. I admit, it was very spineless of me, but Dave went on for like a minute and I was just looking at my BF waiting for him to defend me. I asked Ellie, why would she alter my dish, after telling me to bring an Indian dish? She said she thought Indian food would be brown. This woman has more Indian friends than me, and she thinks Indian food is brown. She grew up in the UK, FFs. And I felt so defeated. The comments, my friends, and people around me telling me his friends came first to him, not me. He said he didn't think the sweet was a big deal. I told him I would never let my friend alter something he spent 3 days learning, getting people to taste it and got his mom involved in. He saw I put a lot of effort into it, so why let her alter it? Why couldn't he ask me? Ellie started to cry and say that she wasn't being racist and she wouldn't know that I put effort into it and now she couldn't host dinners again. I said I used fake names, so why does it matter, unless she and Dave went around telling people. BF told me he didn't expect this from me. My best friend piped up that he expected that my BF would have a FING spine, so I guess they were both disappointed. My IG now EX, BF told me, in front of Dave and Ellie that he needs some space. I told him to get lost. I don't know what my best friend said to him after that, considering I left BF's flat. I kind of tripped in the metro station, so now I'm crying on my best friend's couch with an ice pack while his BF keeps giving me peach schnapps and my relationship has toppled over. I wouldn't have stormed out, had he looked at me once. He just looked 100% on Dave and Ellie's side, and acted like I was the one with the problem when she caused me hurt. If his friends come first when they cause me hurt, where would I have been, if I decided to marry this man? My friends are good to me and are acting like I'm some fragile glass. I even heard my best friend and his brother whispering loudly from the kitchen and his elder brother wanting to threaten him via Insta DMS. I hate that this has come to this, considering I have always been the mom friend to my friend group. I'm drunk while writing this, so have some grace in the comments. Also, if you'll be an incel like those people in my DMs, telling me I'll never keep a man if I'm this dramatic, please go away. I just thought I needed to update, that's it. Thanks guys. Edit. Guys, this is the first time I've faced what y'all have been calling racism. TBH, I didn't see Ellie putting cinnamon into my rosagala as racism. I was just hurt that my days of hard work was ruined, that's it. I understand I need to work on my self-esteem and not let people walk over me. My best friend's elder brother, he's a doctor and is super pissed at my ex-RN, because he didn't know what happened, booked an appointment with a therapist he knows, as he thinks I need mental help to not normalize aggressive behavior. I'm sorry for ranting on Reddit, but I guess that's where I am. Both my best friend and I will be going. He had been there for some time before, and the situation is tense at home because Dada, Bestie's brother, didn't know what was happening and tore my friends a new one for not protesting when Dave said shit to me. I still haven't told him it was over a Reddit post and that I'm writing here that I feel awful and I don't know how to tell my mom she was right. I wish I never went out with him. One of my ex's friends, from the dinner party, asked me if I really left my ex over a dessert, so I guess that's what he told people. It hurts, I know it shouldn't, but it hurts. I think it is partially my fault, I shouldn't have let myself be treated like this. There were signs and I ignored them. And now I think I'll never have another relationship because it feels like a horrible, anxious feeling. Update 2, Aita for crying when my boyfriend let his best friend's wife alter the dish I made for dinner. I'm again grateful for the barrage of supportive messages and chiding I've received from the internet after the cinnamon fiasco and my post causing a breakup. I am updating because I felt like I should just update about recent events, and honestly, after just more than 2 weeks I have started to feel good about myself, even though I feel like shit whenever I remember my ex. I really hope I can put this whole thing to rest and I don't have to update again, for my sanity. Firstly, my ex called a few times last week. I had blocked him earlier, literally like 2 days after breaking up, and whenever he called my friends they wouldn't pick up either. I wanted to handle this matter gracefully, and unlike what some people commented, no, I did not want my issues all over the internet and did not understand what was happening. I just wanted some advice on how to deal with my emotions and didn't want my friends to be mad at my then BF. Thankfully, the trash took itself out. I still don't know if Ellie was racially motivated or if she just hated me. I don't even care now. I don't want a man who makes his friends scold me and humiliate me. I know I deserve to be at least somebody's first choice. Ex came by at my best friend's flat. I don't live there, and from what I heard from my bestie's boyfriend, he said he was very sorry and he now felt like I didn't deserve to be treated like that. He had thought, when he broke up with me, that I was overreacting and it was just a small thing I made a big deal out of. But then a few of his friends explained to Ellie that it definitely was a horrible thing to do, and told my ex he was a shit BF. Huh. Who knew he had nice friends too? Ex didn't say anything more after that. Just he was sorry and he said he doesn't want more hurt between us. I have decided to not contact him. I'm just done. A lecture from my mother on dating idiot men and crying every night for over a week has made me lethargic, and on top, I am fending off Dada, Bestie's elder brothers, insisting that I move in with them for some time because I'm not eating well, my dad said it's okay if I do, my family trusts my bestie and his family a lot. Needless to say, my work and studies are suffering. I haven't heard from Ellie or Dave and I don't intend to. The person who asked me if I left my ex over a desert, I told her what happened and she was appalled. I dunno what she told my ex, for him to apologize. Honestly, I'm so done with that group shit. I went to one therapy session and I didn't feel good. I know I have to keep going for it to actually help me, but I can't help feeling so down. I have never been so emotionally low in my life and I am officially not dating for the foreseeable future. I am planning a trip with friends after my final semester of my master's and I really hope I don't bring the mood down, for my friends who have been so supportive and have always made me feel I have family, even though I'm away from home. I don't know what I would have done without having my best friend and his boyfriend, who keep telling me to drink the pain away and Dada keeps on talking about the negative effects of becoming an alcoholic. Overall, I'm closing this chapter, and I don't think I'll need to update again. I'm not ever talking again to Dave and Ellie or my ex, so I don't expect any more drama. I just want to settle down to work and graduate properly. Update 3, Aita for crying when my boyfriend let his best friend's wife alter the dish I made for dinner. I think by now I should probably put all this in the back burner, but remembering how it was Reddit who got me out of a shitty relationship, I just wanted to make a last final update. I'm doing well. I went to therapy after it, quit it in a few weeks, and 2 months later went back again. I'm working on building a spine when it comes to my loved ones. Turns out even my mom telling me, "I told you so," every time I made a mistake, even though she is wonderful and didn't do it on purpose, has made some stupid issues in my head, in which I need to please every person whom I like. As for my ex, I haven't seen him, he stopped coming to the store, and around a month after my breakup I quit anyways, and for the first time in my life I made it clear to mutual acquaintances that if they took his side, I'm done. I am young, and there are a lot more good people I'll meet in life, so I won't mind losing a few ones who condone such racist behavior. And yes, I have realized that their behavior was racially charged, maybe it was ignorance, maybe my ex wanted the exotic bird, I don't care. I have made peace with the fact that some people will be assholes no matter what. I have heard nothing from Dave or Ellie and good riddance for that. I don't want to know, and I have decided to protect my peace not knowing. Apart from that, I graduated. Went on a solo trip to Italy, moved to a new place, my roommate is a friend from grad school I get along very well, and am focusing on my work and my friends. My best friend and his boyfriend are still going strong. Dada thanks the heavens every day I didn't turn into an alcoholic. Life is good. I don't think I'll update after this. Just wanted to say a final thank you. Stories number 45. Aita for cutting off my dad financially after finding out he has a secret second family, and took out debt in my name. I, 26F, have helped my dad, 57M, on and off for years. Since I was 20, he said he's struggling, medical bills, mortgage, groceries. I paid off his car note once and even covered 2 months of his mortgage last year so he wouldn't lose the house. He always made me feel like I was all he had. My mom passed when I was a teen, and we were close. Or I thought we were. Last month, a cousin let something slip. My dad has a whole other family, a girlfriend he's been with for over a decade and 2 kids, ages 10 and 6. I had no clue. He's been splitting his time between both homes, telling me he's working late or out of town. When I confronted him, he admitted it. Said he didn't tell me because I'd judge him, and he wanted to protect my feelings. I was devastated. But it got worse. While reviewing my credit to apply for a loan, I found out he had taken out 2 credit cards in my name. One was maxed out. Total balance: over $6,000. When I brought it up, he said he was going to pay it off eventually, and that it was for the family. I told him I was done. I reported the cards, froze my credit, and told him I'm not sending another dime. Now he's begging, saying the kids don't deserve to suffer, and his girlfriend is texting me too, saying I'm cruel and ripping their family apart. Extended families split, some shocked, some saying I should forgive him because he's your dad. But I feel completely betrayed. He lied, stole, and used me financially. Aita for cutting him off completely, even with young kids involved. Stories number 46. Found arrest records for the man, M42, I, F28, have been dating. How can I safely end things with him? I, F28, started seeing M42 a few weeks ago. We met at his job and instantly hit it off. I haven't really connected with anyone lately, so I was super excited about this man. I really like him, however, something has felt off. It honestly felt like he was love bombing me. I thought he was just a cheesy guy or desperate, but he does everything excessively. Like, non-stop compliments and talk about how I'm his dream girl. Flowers and gifts. Loud displays of affection in public, literally yelling out loud how much he adores me. Plus, he has needed to have constant communication. If I don't respond to a text, he will spam until I respond. Aside from the love bombing, he is coming out of a divorce. I haven't asked for details about it because he doesn't know why my last relationship ended either. All I know is they were married for 20 years, she left him, and he was very depressed for a while. But he keeps talking about me as if I'm a blessing that entered his life. He verbatim says, when a door closes, a window opens, and this window has finally opened, at least once each time I see him. He has done this since the first date, so at first I thought he was excited. I mean, after the second date, he said he was going to tell everyone he has a girlfriend. He did not ask me out. He and I took a selfie together. On Thursday, he sent me a cropped version of just me that had my nose piercing photoshopped out and it was enhanced by AI. It really creeped me out. I had been having a sinking feeling in my stomach, so I cancelled our plans for Thursday and Friday. On Friday night, I started telling my neighbor about how weird the guy has been. She asked if I had a photo and I didn't, so I deep dived to find him. Like, I was working off his age, first name, and last initial. I found his Facebook, which confirmed his divorce. Something still felt off. So, I googled him and a mugshot where he looks rough popped up. The charges listed were, violation of protective order. I liked him, but now I'm kind of scared of him. Maybe I'm being dramatic, I just don't think I would feel safe around him. How can I safely end things? My neighbor said to block him, but I don't want to risk getting stalked or anything. Stories number 47. My most rewarding experience in my life is being a wife. I am 28 years old and we have been married for 6 years now. I honestly love my husband so much. He is not perfect and neither am I, but our flaws complement each other incredibly well. I just know deep down inside that one of my life purposes is to be a wife. We have built an amazing life together. I take so much joy in caring for my husband. I love to clean our house knowing that it makes our home feel cozy and safe. I love to make our lunches every week and try new recipes that he likes. I love shopping for new comfy clothes for him to wear. I love hearing about how his day went when he gets home from work. I love making him coffee in the mornings. I am super snuggly and love to snuggle with him. We love traveling and going on vacations together. I am not a stay-at-home or a pick-me. I have a full-time high-earning career and contribute 50-50 to our living expenses. I just really love being married and being a wife. That is all. Edit, yes, I am in a happily child-free marriage. Just because I don't want kids, doesn't mean that I don't love being a wife. I am infertile and decided that I am happy with not having kids. I have embraced my child-free lifestyle instead of being sad about it. I don't relate to sad infertile people. I love kids, but I don't want my own. Edit, I'm infertile because I have PCOS. I had painful cyst growths all over my fallopian tubes and had them removed for health reasons and also permanent birth control. Luckily none of the cysts were cancerous. Edit, anyone who is rude about me being child-free can get lost. I'm actually Christian and attend church on a weekly basis. Having kids is not part of God's plan for me. I am not a child hater. I donate money every month to foster care organizations. I am an active member in all of my nieces and nephews' lives. Stories number 48. Aita, because I told my wife she isn't allowed to ground my son. My son is 17. My wife and I also have 3 more boys. 2 are from before our marriage, but I'm legally their father now. They are all much younger than my son. My son is starting his senior year of high school next year and hoping to get an athletic scholarship. My son plans to spend all summer practicing. Yesterday my wife asked him to tidy up the living room and he said he was already on the way to the gym. She told him that he could go after tidying. He said he would do it when he got back and left without giving her time to reply. She sent him a text saying he is grounded and then called me to let me know. I told her I would talk to him, but he wasn't grounded. She said he disrespected her, and I said we could and would have a conversation about that, but there would be no grounding. This is my last summer with my oldest child and an important summer, because he's trying to achieve something that can make or break his future. I'm not going to risk ruining either of those things unless it's something really serious. She was very upset. I texted my son that he wasn't grounded, but that we wanted to talk to him when he came home. He said okay and texted me when he was leaving the gym to let us know he was on the way. When he got back we sat down and talked. He said he didn't mind helping out, but that he was a busy person with a busy schedule and wasn't at our beck and call. He said if he is asked in advance to do something he will, but he isn't available to us at the drop of a hat. My wife didn't like that, but I said that was fine. I asked him if he would be willing to clean the living room, and he said he would after taking a shower. While he was in the shower, my wife and I got into a big fight. She said I undermined her and all the kids will respect her less. I said she isn't my oldest's mother and final say goes to me with him. Any of our other kids and I wouldn't do what I did, but she's not his mom. She was very angry I said that and said she needed space from me. We have only talked as much as necessary today, and I'm getting worried. We are supposed to be at a Memorial Day barbecue in an hour, and she just asked me if I could stay home while she took the boys without me. My oldest has plans with friends and already left. I am wondering if I'm the asshole here. My son always said that he would respect my wife, but she's not his mother. He's never cussed her, shouted at her or what have you. I think it's fair that we stay consistent with her not being his mom. Maybe I'm being a bad husband. Stories number 49. I, 29F, am married to my husband, 29M, makes me feel like a whore. I want to stand up to him. But cow, I am almost at the end of my rope here. My husband and I have been together about 14 years, 9 dating, 5 married. Since we were 16 we've been together on and off but always together. We both usually have a very high sex drive, which in most couples I believe to be healthy. He does get a little wasted on occasion, and when he does he makes me do the weirdest things, and me knowing he isn't in the complete right mindset allow him because I think he is just too drunk to reason with, best to just go with it. However, lately even when sober he just wants me to give him head like on demand, no stimulation, no kissing, just whips it out and expects me to just do it. We were watching a show and he decided to do this and I said no, just wait till this episode is over. And he throws a whole tantrum, gets upset with me, saying sarcastically after the show was over just to watch the show since I like it so much and so on. Today it's the same thing, he whips it out and expects me to just do it. Why do I have to make it so hard? Also mentioning that some girls just do it. I commented that those women get paid for that shit, I don't. I don't know what to do. I feel like if I don't do it he is going to start to feel dissatisfied with me and things will go downhill, but I also feel very uncomfortable and diminished after we are done when these encounters start like this. I don't know how to talk about it without him throwing a fit. Edit. I just want to start this saying to everyone, thank you for validating me. I made this post because I was embarrassed, scared, and angry. I did feel as though this behavior was teetering on sexual assault because when I have said no completely he punishes me with silence and attitude for days. I know our relationship is only peaceful when I behave like a stepford wife, cook, clean, give him WE he wants and all with a smile on my face. Cause if I tell him how I really feel I am not heard, respected, and we just end up arguing all the time. I understand now I have to leave. We've been together since we were 16, we have broken up off and on when we were younger, and this is actually the most kosher we have been, which is a very sad realization. Most of you may think I'm crazy to have stayed so long if I'm saying it was worse previously, but it's very easy to tell someone leave versus being the one in an abusive cycle for so long. I made this response to let you all know I have been slowly planning. However, saving and making my own money is almost next to impossible. I am a Psalm wife of 2, that's only because daycare was too much and he only lets me transfer whatever bills I need to pay, no more no less. I was terrified when I fell pregnant cause this did not seem like the man I wanted for my kids, especially when I fell pregnant again 4 months PP. I was angry. I am back in school and I am trying to sell things or do small business things. I bake and cook very well, but nobody seems to answer my ads. I am not sure how to get out when I don't have any prospects. Any ideas on that would be nice. Stories number 50. Aita for telling my grieving MIL that her advice about my parenting is actually just thinly veiled criticism. My husband, 33M, and I, 32F, have a sweet 18-month-old daughter. My MIL, 65, is a kind and loving person, but she tragically lost her oldest son, my husband's brother, when he was only 5. That kind of pain never fully goes away, and I truly do feel for her. Since our daughter was born, MIL has been giving us lots of unsolicited parenting advice. At first it felt well-meaning, but lately, it's become more frequent and more pointed. She'll say things like, "Are you sure she's eating enough? My son loved vegetables," or "he never cried like that." It often feels like she's comparing our daughter to the child she lost, and implying we're somehow falling short. My husband has tried gently redirecting the conversation, but MIL often gets tearful and says she's just trying to help. I've been dealing with postpartum anxiety, and these visits leave me emotionally drained. I cry after almost every one. Her comments make me question everything I'm doing as a mom. Yesterday was my breaking point. MIL stopped by and saw our daughter playing quietly while I was prepping lunch. She said, "Oh, she's so quiet. My son was always active. You should really be playing with her more." That was it. I snapped and told her, "I know you mean well, and we know how much you miss husband's brother. But your advice isn't helping, it feels like criticism, and it's hurting me. We're doing our best. Please trust us. She burst into tears and left. My husband is upset that I made her cry, even though he agrees her comments were unfair. Now his extended family is calling me insensitive and heartless for upsetting a grieving mother. I'm genuinely not trying to be cruel. I'm just exhausted and hurting. Aita for finally saying something.